have my sword. And you have my bow.
And my axe.
In the first part of our two-part Lord of the Rings series, we talked to VFX artist and Valve music composer Mike Morasky, who was the massive technical director on the trilogy, about his experiences working on set in New Zealand. Tonight we're looking at the trilogy from more of a story angle. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien was an English writer who was born January 3rd, 1892, in the Orange Free State in South Africa, which would shortly be officially annexed by the British after the Second Boer War. His father was a British bank manager who had moved to South Africa with his family to Bloom to head his bank's office there. While on a visit to Birmingham, England to see his family with his mother, Tolkien's father died of rheumatic fever, and J.R.R., his younger brother and mother, stayed in Birmingham. When he was 12, his mother died of type 1 diabetes at 34 years old, 9 years before the discovery of insulin. Tolkien's mother left her 2 kids in the custody of a friend, Father Francis, and Tolkien began attending first King Edward's School, then St. Philip's School. Tolkien spent a lot of time with his cousins, Mary and Marjorie Ingledon, who were interested, like he was, in languages. Mary and Marjorie had invented a new language called Animalic and taught it to him. They'd keep learning and inventing languages. In 1911, Tolkien took a summer trip to Switzerland, hiking across the mountains with 12 friends. This trip would form the basis of Tolkien's The Hobbit and Bilbo's trip across the Misty Mountains. From there, Tolkien began attending Exeter College in Oxford and studying English language and literature in 1913. He also got engaged that year to Edith Mary Bratt, who was also an orphan, and to the horror of Tolkien's church guardians, Protestant. In 1914, World War I started, but Tolkien surprised his friends and family by delaying his service until he finished his degree. In July 1916, the time was up, and the war was a meat grinder. Tolkien got on a train to France just in time for the Battle of the Somme, a 3 million soldier battle where British and French troops tried to hasten the defeat of the Germans. By October, he had contracted trench fever from a horde of lice and became too sick to fight. He was sent back to England, where he spent the rest of the war in and out of the hospital. After the war, Tolkien first got a job working on the Oxford Dictionary, the W's section. Then he was appointed as the Rawlinson and Bosworth Professor of Anglo-Saxon at Oxford with a fellowship at Pembroke College, a position he held from 1925 to 1945, a time where he began getting more into writing, publishing poems, then working on a translation of Beowulf, then finally being persuaded to publish The Hobbit in 1937. The Hobbit was a story that he had written for his children and was published by George Allen and Unwin to rave reviews. The success of The Hobbit was so great, publishers began pushing him to write a new Hobbit.
Yes, but sure, to read into the book a kind of allegory of the H-bomb. What is said somewhere in the book is that the One Ring is a power so enormous that even if a good man were to use it against a bad, it would corrupt the good man.
But that is a thing which other people have arrived, other people arrived at long before H-bomb was invented. Yeah. Also, I may say that I began building the stories in which the Dark Lord when I was an undergraduate. They were already in an advanced stage. During the First War, the H-bomb hadn't been heard of.
If you were to be remembered as the man who has made the Lord of the Rings, would you rather be remembered as a man who has said something or as a man who has made something?
Starting slowly in 1937, interrupted by World War II, Tolkien worked away at a manuscript until 1949 in stops and starts. This was The Lord of the Rings, envisioned as a single 2-volume set paired with the Silmarillion. However, for economic reasons, The Lord of the Rings ended up being published in 1954 and 1955 in 3 volumes, 2 books per volume. Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King together, The Lord of the Rings became one of the best-selling novels ever written. And yet, The Lord of the Rings seemed next to impossible to turn into a film, didn't it? Ralph Bakshi and Saul Zaentz tried in 1978 with a rotoscoped adaptation of The Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, shoved together into a 2-hour and 20-minute animated movie. Tolkien was dead by then, so we'll never know what he thought of that. Saul Zaentz kept the film rights until 1997, when the New Zealand director Peter Jackson convinced him to let him buy them. Peter Jackson had a deal with Harvey Weinstein at Miramax after Peter and his life partner Fran wowed Hollywood with their 1996 blockbuster, The Frighteners. For $26 million, Peter was able to write and direct with Fran. He had his own New Zealand-based visual effects studio, Weta Digital. He was able to show Universal that he could work on a budget within a very tight schedule. At this point, Peter's dream was to adapt King Kong. However, that was put on hiatus after Godzilla and Mighty Joe Young came out first. Too many monster movies in one year. So Peter and Fran decided to create their own high fantasy screenplay with original characters. Only every single screenplay they wrote ended up being basically a version of Lord of the Rings. So they finally just decided it was time to adapt The Lord of the Rings. Only Harvey Weinstein began panicking about money, pushing Peter and Fran to adapt the trilogy into 2 films, each one under 3 hours. Then he decided the whole trilogy should be turned into 1 film. That's when they decided they'd had enough, and after months of arguing, Weinstein relented and put up the rights, which were bought up by New Line Cinema. Under the provision that Peter direct 3 films as long as he wanted, they wanted to do the trilogy right. Before Weinstein relented to selling the rights to New Line, he actually threatened to replace Peter Jackson with Quentin Tarantino, which kind of would have been hilarious. What the hell would that have looked like? The principal photography for the trilogy began October 11th, 1999, and ended December 22nd, 2000. From there, pickup shots were done every year from 2001 to 2004 to get anything they had missed. Most of the filming was done within New Zealand's national parks and conservation areas, as well as sound stages in Wellington and Queenstown. Post-production was also done pretty much consecutively, with each film getting a year before the next film was set to be released.
Tops has been like 500,000 feet of film. We're getting avid storage. We're getting 1.5 terabytes of storage set up and 6 avids hooked together. Okay. Just gearing up for the biggest thing any of us have ever seen.
The size of the project was quite amazing. The amount of footage that was turned over through the cutting room was nothing I'd ever seen before.
Normally we'd have a ratio of 12 or 15 to 1, but on this I think we end up about 150 to 1, so that's a lot of film.
Some stages we had like 7 and 8 units out shooting, all producing footage.
How many units have we got? I've lost count.
A big part of what made this entire thing, well, possible, but also so groundbreaking, was the extensive use of motion capture with Weta Digital, advancing the technology farther than it ever had been before.
I hate you. I hate you. Where would you be without me? Ellen, I saved us.
Motion capture was most often used with characters like Gollum, who were on 2 legs and had motion that could be captured from the movements of an actor. One of the biggest innovations in animation and visual effects was the massive software package. Developed for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it allowed the generation of crowd sequences for battles.
The great thing with the technology that we devised over the years is that we were able to make continual improvements to it, and obviously the massive software that was written for Lord of the Rings was a good case, because we wrote this to enable us to have these computer-generated armies which would behave naturally and look natural and not look like they were replicated bits of computer programming.
The cast of all these films was huge, with each film adding entire populated areas of Middle-earth. By the time you have Return of the King, you have characters from the Shire, Rivendell, Lothlorien, Rohan, Gondor, Isengard, and of course Mordor. I'm not even going to try to recite the entire cast, but the main Fellowship members alone were Elijah Wood, Sean Ashton, Ian McKellen, Viggo Mortensen, Orlando Bloom, John Rhys Davies, Sean Bean, Billy Boyd, and Dominic Moynihan. 4 hobbits, 2 men, an elf, a dwarf, and a wizard. The overall budget for all 3 films was $281 million. After Miramax bought the rights and Harvey Weinstein tried to push them all into 1 film, Peter Jackson pushed Weinstein into allowing another company, New Line, to buy it. $281 million is still an impressively small amount considering the later Hobbit trilogy would cost $623 million. The films made $2.9 billion at the box office. Fellowship of the Ring came out in December 2001, The Two Towers December 2002, Return of the King December 2003. In 2004, The Return of the King swept the Oscars, taking home 11 awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design, Best Editing, Best Makeup, Best Original Score, Best Original Song, and Best Visual Effects.
Gun knuckles for 8! And Rohan will answer.
Anyway, before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live stream, send us a super chat, which helps me keep the show running and which I am obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are on there forever. We also have a new Discord and a Letterboxd HQ account, so those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Links are in the description. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. J.R.R. World, illustrator, book cover artist, artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host for Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. KT Baldassaro is an actress, director, and writer who wrote and co-directed and also starred in Girl in the Basement, along with appearing in quite a few horror movies. You can also catch her voice acting in a scripted podcast series, The Starwell Foundation, an audio drama set in the City of Superheroes, wherever podcasts are listened to, and her new film podcast, What If I Don't Like It? New episodes bi-monthly, as well as on TikTok at Movie Runtime. Lauren Chouinard is a writer and social media strategist who writes film reviews for Merry-Go-Round magazine and is on Letterboxd as Lonely Goat Herd. I, of course, am your host and one of the hobbits who didn't leave the Shire or have any adventures, Forrest Proudfoot Miller. I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve.
Amazing.
Well done. Well bold. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we got. No kidding. That's why we started early. Well done, Forrest. On the.
It literally is an extended cut because the last.
I know. Yeah, I remember.
Were the ones from was the one from Tuesday.
And just like with the actual extended edition, that adds quite a bit of context, and we appreciate that.
It's all Tolkien context, which I was pronouncing Tolkien, and I learned from a lot of very angry internet posts on Reddit that it's Tolkien, and then I had to re-record all the lines where I said Tolkien because
man.
I knew for a fact that those people were going to somehow find the video, and next thing you know.
Yeah. Lots of comments, but not the kind you want.
Yeah.
It was mentioned in the chat.
We already got the reason that Lord of the Rings works is because they didn't race swap any characters. And I was like, I'm pretty sure they race swapped almost all the characters. Because, like, the hobbits are played by men, the elves are played by men.
They're not actual elves. They're not actual.
The dwarves. They didn't even get an actual little person to play Gimli. So
they got the tallest dude of the bunch of them. Yeah. It was mentioned in the comments of us, the thing of us doing all 3 of these together, which is very much an improbable mission, let alone doing it twice from both perspectives. But I'm very interested in how these conversations are going to differ because we covered all the technical stuff with Mike, of course, in the earlier episode.
Well,
and there's so much.
Older. And why is there?
There's so much story here, and there's so much to handle. One of the things that I kind of with the rewatch for the shows, I did all the extended editions. And
the only way to go.
I really like, especially like with Saruman, right? You're like in Return of the King. Otherwise, it's like, oh yeah, he's sorted. Don't worry about it. And it's like, wait, what? Well, he was like he's like the guy. He was like, he was causing all the problems. Like, what do you mean you like it's sorted out? But then you get that great scene of him just being like a trashy little bitch talking all that shit from the top of his tower, which is great. He's like, you suck, you're ugly, like, and he's just like,
fuck you.
And what that guy says back to him is so baller too. From down there, it's a great speech.
Yeah, it's an awesome scene, and you're like, why did you cut that out? Like, there's and other than the fact that those movies are 100,000 years long, but I mean, and there are
cut literally anything else out from the beginning of one of them. It's literally they pick up the Palantir and they're like, oh, Saruman's orb, I guess he's dead, and it's like, okay, so you're supposed to take that just from the fact that his orb is like on the ground now. That's not. It doesn't seem like
that doesn't seem like conclusive evidence. Coming from the no monster is truly dead until it explodes mentality, that's not evidence. Sorry.
Yeah. And Gollum just falls down that hole and it's all good.
Yeah, whatever. We'll never see that guy again. Yeah. What happened to him? Oh, nothing. I don't know.
NBD.
But I do love we talk we couldn't stop putting in some of the stuff from like the plot and stuff in there, like the fact that you shall not pass is like one of the hardest lines in like all cinema, right? Amazing. And then like in the very beginning of Two Towers, you see the fight, actually I'm a physicist, and if you were falling at that so many meters per second, also the Balrog has wings, and there wouldn't be a movie if it like worked like that. Sorry.
I hate when people try and apply physics to the Lord of the Rings. Don't get me started on those fucking eagles, man. Like, they have their whole other shit going on. Can we just like suspend disbelief and just be like, okay, they were busy. They were at brunch and they couldn't fly people to Mordor.
I got tricked by a video of a guy that sounds exactly like Tolkien doing a perfect impression. That he goes, he's telling a story about how somebody asked him about the Eagles. He told them to shut the fuck up, and I got tricked by that. I was like, oh man, I thought that really was an Ents, because he's like a sassy old little bitch for like the end of his life. He's just like gossiping on the.
First of all, you wouldn't have a story, so we'll start with that. But also, they're sentient creatures. They have autonomy. They're not like slaves to be commanded around. They have internal
drivers.
They have internal, like, internecine politics. Maybe they don't want to get ripped apart and go into battle against the ring wraiths dragons. Maybe, I don't know. Like, clearly they know about the eagles, right? There is actually a pretty good theory on Reddit like there was a plan, that there was a parlay with the eagles, and that Gandalf had it all worked out, but he didn't tell anybody because it had to be as secret as possible. And then when Gandalf the Grey was reborn as Gandalf the White, he forgot a lot of things, like say that he was Gandalf at first, and that includes the plan, right? And actually, I was like, you know what? That's the best like fan fiction assist I think I've ever seen on Reddit for sure.
I kind of like the explanation that goes off of that where they go as far as to say like, okay. So yes, actually, Tolkien did say once, and it was totally meta.
I think you mean Tolkien.
Okay, I'm gonna say it wrong.
I'm never gonna. That's like when somebody said it's GIF. I'm like, the fuck it is.
Oh yeah, right. And it's
no way. I don't see. Now that the intro is over, I don't care. Just that the intro gets sent out as a separate video. So it's like
exactly.
I get feedback on that from just random people that aren't gonna watch the episode.
No, they'll never in 1,000 years. In multiple ages of men and before, they will not watch an episode, but they will comment on the short video. Yeah. Go ahead, Katie.
But he did say when talking about the use of the eagles as a writer and a literary device that he worried about using them as like a deus ex machina too many times. And that doesn't answer why the internal consistency of the characters don't choose to do so. I like the idea that at the council with Elrond, they decide it's supposed to be secret. They're going to go and do the most secret version of it. And that's like they say secrecy is key.
Yeah.
Those flying in on an eagle, the complete opposite of secret. So maybe they don't
the opposite of clandestine. Yeah.
Metal.
And I mean, the Muppets have taught us that eagles have eagles are narcs. They will tell everybody.
Well, and that's it. That's. I mean, believe it or not, I'm gonna kind of double down on Andy's little digression there and say that, like, yeah, they're autonomous creatures with their own politics that are amongst the other like older races. Like, they're not just gonna be ordered around just because eagles in our world are actually,
They do help in other stories to do exactly like taxi service.
But they do whatever they do what they want to do when they want to do it for their own reasons.
Yeah,
and
but
their
why
reasons,
don't we even ask them in the book is what a lot of people say.
Right, and whatever. We're not just talking about the books. We're talking about stuff that's not in the books. But I agree that the answer should be because you don't have a book, then nerd.
Talk to Tolkien about it, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Bring it up with him.
You gotta bring it back on a Ouija board, and you gotta ask the Ouija board, like, how come Why couldn't they just take the eagles on the way there?
You know what he's gonna say? He's gonna
It's like
say,
even in death. I am
like
tasked
that-
by this inquiry.
Well, two things. Number one, the Eagles have just been demoralized since they started working as gig workers, and they were on strike for the first 3 movies. And the second part, what I was gonna say, you really get extra frustrated about the first 10 minutes when they're telling the story of everything that's happened. And you see Isildur and Elrond walk into the fires of Mount Doom, and then Isildur's like, "No, I'm gonna keep the ring," and walks out, and you're like, because it's like the journey from fucking the Shire to Mordor to it's such a long journey, and it could have just been avoided by Isildur doing the right thing. But he thought he could. He's the lib that thought he could compromise with the ring.
So I will say that when reading the books, it didn't really bother me. But like when watching the movie in the theater when it came out, like the week it came out, which was an amazing experience as they all were, when the Eagles are like in slow motion going to go get him, it's like, oh, awesome. I'm like, hey, wait a second, why didn't they just help him get there? Like it did cross my mind, right? Where it's like, I mean, it's still fraught. You're flying over a volcano, but it's like, hey, if you could rescue him, you could. Well. So it's natural to wonder about it, but don't be a dick about it. Is what I'm saying.
They also, they don't show up until the battle for Gondor. Like, it's not like they're fighting in Rohan and everything against Saruman, and the Eagles suddenly show up. Like, they get there at the very last minute, and then he's like, "Hey, can you go pick up my friends?" And they're like, "I guess so. We missed the battle. Like, we missed the crazy part of the party." So
we're watching our stories. We don't have time for it.
Yeah, look, bitch. My telenovelas.
We got Eagle shit to do.
I'm picking up the Hobbits, but I'm going to get Taco Bell afterwards too.
Right, exactly. Making a run for the border. The border
would,
The border is Mordor. KT, what were we going to say? Sorry, God.
I was going to say, before we lose Lauren, because I know she has to go a little early, I think we should make use of having someone who is a singer, knows opera, knows music. Let's talk about
I'm a singer and I know music. I just don't do opera.
I know, but we have you all the time, and I didn't want to belittle having a musician, but we have another musician as well. And can the both of you just ping back and forth with the cool fact that Forrest gave us this week?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I know. Also,
I'll be drinking my brandy wine.
Hell yeah.
I should say the cool fact is that Lord of the Rings as an entire series has more leitmotifs as a catalog than any other movie, including Star Wars, which previously the catalog of Star Wars, the original trilogy, was 55 leitmotifs, and there's I think 110, maybe more by the end of it. That they have
more than Wagner's The Ring Cycle, the whole Ring Cycle, which is 16 hours of opera, which also I've been to. I've seen The Ring Cycle when it came in through San Francisco, and it's not entirely the same as Lord of the Rings, but like the first one, Das Rheingold, which is like your first act, is like very much like Lord of the Rings. Okay, there's one ring of power. There's like one guy who's hoarding it, who's like a little like goblin-esque. We don't have to talk about Wagner's intentions.
Let's not. We don't have enough time. Yeah.
We don't got it. But
a German guy?
Yeah. But there's definitely like a lot of parallels. But to say that Tolkien like ripped off like the Ring Cycle is wrong. But like, but definitely like Wagner created the leitmotif, like that he was like the basis of all of film music relying on this particular device. He was the originator of it, and Lord of the Rings was like, hold my beer, we'll do more in our 12 hours than you did in your 12 hours. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Which one of the few Oscars that they won like consecutively, they kept giving them like music Oscars, which is kind of hilarious to be like, oh, Lord of the Rings will keep giving you like the best original song kind of Oscars, but like not any of the visual effects one until Return of the King.
Well,
and then
they won some technical stuff in Fellowship, but in general. But there's a lot of the songs. First of all, there's poems too in the books. The Eagler rap, absolutely. But there's a lot. He has songs like in the book, like and like he envisioned this like with music and stuff like that. Like it's a fully formed part of the culture for him. Invented,
Yeah, it's very cool, and like there are other like Lord of the Rings little like the cartoon version and things like that incorporate more music into them. Like the whole story is like meant to be this like epic, and how did we tell epics Back in the day, it was through like song and by rote and things like that. Also, in addition to seeing the Ring cycle many years ago, I last week just saw The Lord of the Rings, the musical, which just premiered for the first time in the United States. It opened in 2006 on the West End to like mixed reviews. But what's really cool about the musical, because it just came to the US, but it's composed by J.R.R. Rahman. And if that name sounds familiar to you, he was the composer of Slumdog Millionaire. So so what's very, very interesting about this musical, because I went in kind of cold, I didn't read any of the reviews, is that he combines this kind of like Celtic, Gaelic, like folk song sort of stuff. If you're familiar with Once the Musical, it's kind of like that, where it's very folksy. And all of the actors are playing instruments, which is really cool because in Lord of the Rings, like, I don't know, I feel like that's just like the vibe of like, you know, being at the pub in the Shire, and it like really feels like that. But Rahman also infused a lot of his like Indian influence. So a lot of these like big epic songs that the elves sing are more like Indian ragas, which I find very, very interesting. So it's very different than what you would expect from someone like Howard Shore. And it's just feels like a completely different thing. The staging of it was incredible. Yes.
The answer, yes, she is. Is there a string called Old Toby? You're damn straight.
But I just thought it was so interesting how the musical just like in so many ways felt like it ripped direct things from the movie, including like the character choices for Gollum and particular lines that are taken straight from the script. But not necessarily from the book. And I thought that that was all very, very interesting because he put his own spin on it. But it works. It works because you're just taking like folklore just from a different country and applying it to the same story. And it just feels lived in, which is really nice.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, I think the guy who wrote the rewrote the adaptation because the original adaptation was like over 3 hours long, and apparently was like a lot more spectacle than it was substance and whenever it came out, which is why it got such mixed reviews. But
Lord of the Rings, the ice musical.
This version was the attempt was to make it feel like you're just like hanging out with a bunch of hobbits, watching them tell the story of what happened to their mates.
Totally. It's very, very immersive. We had like Hobbiton like in the audience with us, like playing games and things like that. The one thing I will say is that the musical pulls a Harvey Weinstein, and that it fit the whole trilogy into the whole musical, which was a little under 3 hours. And that was too fast.
So let me just say, as someone whose idea was, we can do all 3 movies in one episode, but really it's 2 episodes. It's always a bad idea to do that. Always a bad idea. Like the reason why these are 3 of the greatest adaptations of a novel of all time, and some of the greatest adventure movies, greatest fantasy movies, is because there's room for all the massive, like terabyte level of backstory and information that goes in. And that's one of the reasons.
The most interesting part of the Lord of the Rings.
And it's why the extended editions are the ones you have to watch. Like even if it's like, like if you're bringing a newcomer along, freaking pause it, like let him take a break and come back to it the next day if you need to, but it's and speaking as someone that saw the theatrical version first, and again, as I mentioned on the other episode, like the idea that I was a Peter Jackson fan. I was huge into like Heavenly Creatures, Bad Taste, Dead Alive, right? We KT, that's where we first brought you on, as we mentioned before. And I was like, oh, wow, that's like, I had the same feeling when I heard Sam Raimi was going to be doing a Spider-Man movie, which at the time was impossible. Other than Batman, you could not bring superheroes to the screen. I was like, I'm sorry, they're getting like the guy who did Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2, Spider-Man. I'm in. Take my money, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, they're giving Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings. Like, first of all, how? And then I was immediately like, oh, they're making 3 of them. And I was like, oh, awesome. And they're shooting them all at once. I'm like, that's crazy. But okay, maybe that could work.
And they're using people you barely even know.
We don't have the ability to say, hey, this didn't do as well at the box office as I wanted it to. We're going to replace you as director, which is a problem that, like whether you look at like the Harry Potter movies or like a bunch of those different other like fantasy, like fantasy style movies, a lot of times they're like, oh, well, I don't like this adaptation, or you have to go do something else. we're gonna just
new
replace
executives
it.
come in that they just want
Yeah.
to put their mark on or whatever. No, that's a really good point for us, and that's,
Mhm.
I mean, good on Peter Jackson because first of all, so it's like an absolute object lesson of how to do it, and then everybody has done it wrong. Like they're like, cool, we saw it, this works, everyone loved it. Let's not do any of those things.
Yeah,
like over and over and over again.
They even fuck it up with more time. They get an extended amount of time in this series on Amazon, and they failed to put as much thought into the acting and the writing as they put money into the background and the costumes. Like
I watched the whole
losers.
thing, and even coming in being
I'm
like
so sorry.
a fan, I don't remember a single name of any of those characters other than Galadriel, and I could not tell you what happened at all. At all.
I don't know. They're walking around, you know, there's a black elf. That was cool, you know. That was like
You get to
that's
meet
like about the
young
only thing I can remember.
Yeah,
you get to meet
young Sauron. I know.
Well, and also it's like okay, Elrond's there, but he's not nearly as good as the guy who plays Elrond in the movies, whose name I totally forget now, but
the guy who they got playing looks like what's his face, Neil Patrick Harris, which was like completely threw me off.
I guess it
like,
was, yeah.
Why does Doogie Howser playing Elrond?
You know, it's really interesting that you say that a lot. Sorry.
No, I still am stuck in the Priscilla Queen of the Desert mode because I watched that 3 times for our episode.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And every time I see Hugo Weaving, I just imagine
Weaving
him being like, just imagine him in Priscilla Queen of the Desert, and I'm like, damn, he's gonna really start busting out to some ABBA.
When the Lord of the Rings first came out, I was just like, can you just imagine, you know, Hugo Weaving in the movie? He's just like, you know what I don't like about you hobbits? It's the smell.
But I do think you make a great point, Andy, about this series, that they managed to cast like B versions of good actors, which is funny because when we talk about this film, it didn't come out the gate with, I mean, Christopher Lee, very established, but a lot of the other actors are
the
like,
sound that the guy makes
Elijah
when he
Wood.
gets stabbed. He knows the sound the guy makes when you stab him. That's
my
what
favorite.
he does.
That's my favorite trivia.
Oh yeah, that's so good.
I mean, like
Great,
John Rhys
great work.
Davies is probably the only one that was like known to nerds because you know he was in Indiana Jones. I remember Claudia Christian was in talks to do the movie. Nothing ever happened of it, but like nerds were like freaking out that it was going to be John Rhys Davies and Claudia Christian in this movie, and like you know.
And so you get a lot of actors who wind up becoming like big names going on, but they're kind of set in, like, it sets a standard for it. Whereas like, how could they not get big names on the Amazon series?
Yeah.
Well, Cate Blanchett was not as established as she is now at the time, but she was absolutely fantastic as Galadriel, to the point that that was the one I was most worried about. Let me finish my sentence. In the movies, and there was no need to worry. I actually think that in that series, the woman who plays Galadriel, whose name like sounds like a Middle Earth character, like Morfydd Clark or something, and there's like double D's and stuff like that. Anyway, I thought she was the best part of it. It's just that it's a shame that the rest of it is eminently forgettable. But it's like, okay, if it's gonna more or less center Galadriel, you have to nail that.
Yeah,
but it doesn't. It doesn't like it like one character alone doesn't a great story make. Then that's the case on this. Okay, go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah.
No, I was rewatching Fellowship of the Ring last night, and when she does the scene where she's like, things that are, things that were, and some things that have not yet come to pass. I was just imagining her looking into the fucking, looking into the pool, like looking down there, and then all of a sudden she's getting canceled. She's like,
it's Tar.
It actually does make that ending make more sense then.
Yeah. Well, and just calling out a specific scene, like the scene where you I just give the ring to you, and then like she goes like way dark for a minute, where it's like, haven't we all been at that party? Where it's like, whoa,
when Galadriel goes into sicko mode, absolutely.
And then she calms down and is like, just playing. We're not going to do that later.
That scene scared shit out of me as a child.
It's so terrible.
I had nightmares about it, and I think I still do.
That shit was scary, but also Bilbo.
Now I have nightmares and I'm vaguely turned on too.
Oh my God, Forrest! I know exactly what scene you're talking about.
Bilbo gets crazy fucking Gollum eyes and teeth, and he goes, and then all of a sudden you're like, ah! And then Frodo just like goes back to whatever he's doing, and he's like, Bilbo's like, I'm sorry, and he's like, it's okay, and it's like,
I literally still jump at it after seeing that movie 50 times.
That's my favorite trivia, is that they had to cast his face to do that practical effect. It's not full CGI, and so the actor asked for Ian Holmes asked for a bronze capture of that, and he has it on his mantle of his fireplace because he loves it so much.
So rad. So rad.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, he passed away recently, so I wonder who has it now.
He did R.I.P. It went to the estate, and I'm gonna bid on it.
Yes.
Well, and we mentioned
It's right here, and I pull it in.
Yeah, actually, it's right here. Christopher Lee.
Wait, really quick before you say that, because I'm going to forget otherwise. And I'll play the clip after Lauren hops off. But what Andy was saying about the only person that was known to nerds was like John Rhys Davies or whatever. Ian McKellen was up for both playing Gandalf, and they kind of spaced it out for him, and X-Men, and he wouldn't have been in either one. He was going to do a different movie, and they said, you have to do Lord of the Rings. Like, we really need you to be Gandalf. So they kind of like spaced it out a little bit for him, because they were like, they're not going to start production on this for a little while anyway. So he finally,
you know who they originally cast for Gandalf, right?
No,
I don't.
It was Sean Connery. They asked him, and he's like, I didn't understand it, so I turned it down.
What?
He also was offered the role of Morpheus, which makes sense. Which is why Morpheus is an Irish terrorist in the beginning of the Matrix, right? Like they never explain like this whole thing. It's just like, oh yeah, he's an Irish terrorist, and then Oris Fishburne rocks up, but no, he's like I didn't understand the Matrix, so I turned it down. It's just like,
I like Sean Connery being like hobbits
I
are
don't
like
understand
women.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
But
I'm gonna take this
the idea
role
of
anyway.
Sean Connery be like, hobbits are like women. Sometimes you have to slap them around. You're like, no, get out of here, Gandalf.
No.
Well, I mean, I don't know if we're going to go into the outcasting wormhole, because there's a lot of things that we could bring up about that.
Yeah,
did you get? Was that what you wanted? Forrest, did you get what you wanted to say out for that? Because
wait. So when Lauren leads, I have a clip where
wait, I just stopped the show so you could bring it back up. So yes, there you go. I waited. Because I want to mention Christopher Lee is a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and like literally knew Tolkien.
He knew Tolkien.
And like, because we brought it up in the other show, but Lauren wasn't on that one, so I wanted to bring up the fact that how cool is it to have like one of your stars be like, oh yeah, let me give you notes about like this book that I read yearly, and then also, by the way, I knew the actual dude who wrote it. Amazing.
Yeah, he's the only person in the
stuff.
cast that ever did meet Tolkien.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say it's Tolkien.
Yeah, that's incredible. He's just Christopher Lee is just the best. And when I think about the movie and the cast, I think that everyone is like perfectly cast in this movie. But when I think about like the two people that I could not replace, it is Ian McKellen and Christopher Lee. Could not be replaced by other actors in my mind. Like there is no, just like how like when I watched Harry Potter and I was like, this character's not like in the book. This isn't character is like in the book. And then I see Severus Snape and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's Alan Rickman. Yeah. Like,
the only person that I think could have been literally just swapped out for pretty much anybody is just Orlando Bloom. He barely he doesn't say very well.
He's barely.
Totally.
Okay.
And who would I have had my like adolescent awakening with? There you I needed him specifically so that he could then do Pirates of the Caribbean, so that I could like figure my sexuality out.
That was the rationale behind it.
I wouldn't have swapped him. I couldn't have had him any other way.
Let's do a very like lightning quick, if we can, alternate casting. I'll handle this because some of these are crazy, right? So, Aragorn, Nicolas Cage as Aragorn.
No.
I mean, like he all right. So the part of this that really would have worked when he's Strider, when he's in the pub and he's like, his clothes on. That would have worked like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like that's wildly different. James Corden as Samwise.
Yeah, they said no.
That would have blown chunks.
Yeah, that would have ruined a movie series in one casting decision.
Well, he
F plus.
My understanding, at least from reading. He auditioned for it and they said like, nah, we don't want you. We do not want you to do this.
Wow.
But I'm gonna blow your mind on this one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll pay you not to play. Patrick Stewart as Gandalf.
Oh, that
man, him sitting up on an eagle going engage would just be great.
Right, exactly.
I'm not gonna say anything about Picard that ain't good.
I think I think he could have done it, but that's different.
Smoking the Hobbit's leaf.
Yeah, he doesn't come across as a stoner like Ian McKellen does.
No.
Yeah. Well, Stewart and McKellen are apparently really close friends. I mean, they're both in the X-Men movies together, but apparently they've been they both did Shakespeare together, so that's cool. All right, a few more. Liam Neeson as Boromir.
I have a certain amount of skills.
Boromir's like barely. Boromir doesn't really bring that much to the table anyway, so it's like.
I mean, in the extended edition, I love the fact that he actually has he's a much more well-rounded character.
I was gonna say I
So-
disagree
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I've seen the extended edition.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't have. My ADHD is too bad for me to add. That
to add time. That's
Yeah.
real.
It was. It
Yeah,
was rough. for me-
it
was
makes
rough
it
for
more
me
of a
to watch.
tragedy, because they actually give him a chance to do stuff, as opposed to just being like, "Oh, the ring is corrupting him," and we don't see why he's there.
Yeah, right. You get more than just like plot points out of him, which is good.
Once you
Jake
figure out
Gyllenhaal
Oh.
as Frodo.
Well, that would be on
Young
the heels
Jake-
of Donnie Darko, right?
Yeah, Donnie Darko. Yeah. That, hold on.
Right about the same time.
Yeah, I'm
He
not
does
sure-
do a
I'm not
lot
sure-
of brooding in this, so.
Yeah.
Well, Donnie Darko was 2001, so I don't. So that would not have been out yet at the time of filming. Apparently, he bombed his audition.
Wow.
Peter Jackson told him he's the worst actor he's ever seen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, with James Corden right there.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
Oh my.
All right,
Oh,
I'm gonna blow. I'm gonna. This is another mind blower for me, anyway. Elrond, David Bowie.
Oh, that would
Oh.
that would have worked for me. That'd have been.
But I
fine.
want that.
Yeah,
Mm.
right.
I
I'm okay
want
with that.
that.
Mm.
Oh wow.
He auditioned even for it, but apparently Hugo Weaving was
Hugo
better. So
Weaving?
there. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe the codpiece budget wasn't big enough for.
I know.
God.
That-
Yeah.
He's like
all
my
right.
idea. My idea is that an elf will have a massive cod piece. Just
And it will dance magic dance. Eowyn, Uma Thurman.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
good.
I like it.
That would be good. I'm not mad about that, right? But apparently she had just given birth and was kind of like, I can't go out for that long.
Do you like the actress that they have for that character? Because I'm kind of lukewarm on the one that's
She's
actually
okay.
in it.
She's okay.
Yeah, she's all right. I mean, like Eowyn is. I think that she has some of the most iconic moments, like in the series. I think that other people could have taken that role.
Yeah.
She did an all right job. She's just very puppy dog looking.
Yeah, you can have. She's like mooning over Aragorn like most of her scenes, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we get it, he's hot, but you know, yeah.
Yeah.
I did like, Steven Tyler saw the movie, and he's just like, "That you did the voice too?" And she's like, "Yeah, Dad, I'm an actor."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Liv. By the
Just
way,
like
I don't know if you noticed.
For Owen.
Yes.
I'm wearing the Evans.
Oh, love it.
Oh, fantastic!
I wore this
fantastic.
on my wedding day.
Oh,
Amazing.
I wore this on my wedding day. It was very important to me. Arwen was like a very like formative, like I love her. And the thing is, like when Liv Tyler got cast in it, people were like, the fuck? Like Nepo baby? And but I think that she is she is like an ethereal looking person.
Yeah, she looks the part. I mean,
she looks like
absolutely.
And she learned Elvish. She did her dime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she did an amazing job with it. Like I think she might be like one of my favorite parts.
So two more just to finish off the bit. We already mentioned Sean Connery, which would have been insane. But this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Another Aragorn alt casting, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, yeah, fine.
Ooh.
Yeah, it would have been like, Vigo, you like to carry your sword around. Guess what?
Apparently, Jackson repeatedly asked him.
nuts
He
off.
repeatedly asked him to star in it, and he wanted nothing to do with it.
I would have also accepted Gary Oldman in anyone's role. Gary
hell
Oldman
yeah.
could have been Arwen. That would have been fine with me
Yeah,
too.
I was gonna say Gary Oldman as Galadriel. Love.
And last one.
That's crazy. 2 weeks in a row. The bringing up Gary Oldman and Daniel Day-Lewis in the same
It's
like
true.
in the same statement.
It was the era.
Originally they were gonna cast Daniel Day-Lewis, or they wanted to maybe cast Daniel Day-Lewis as Sid and Nancy.
Oh,
that's right. I forgot about that.
That
Yeah,
would have been
yeah,
good too. That would have been. Sorry.
So last one.
Yeah,
You would have died of
Last
heroin,
one.
and we wouldn't have got all these good performances.
Ethan Hawke as Faramir.
Oh, I like it.
He's a better actor than you think. I think at that time he
I
didn't
like
have the
Ethan
chops,
Hawke.
but he proves himself.
Yeah,
I think he would have done a great job, and I got nothing against the fellow who played Faramir, but that's kind of like
he's like an Australian guy, never really made it out of the country. But it's fine, he's shown up on things, not good things.
I could take like Ethan though being like dad's disappointment. Like I really think. I could see
he has big
like,
disappointing son energy. Yes, you're right.
But the dad's also pretty
He gives a
disappointing.
good "my dad doesn't love me" face.
Wow.
So Kevin Bacon would have also worked because we know
Kevin Bacon, absolutely.
The craziest part I feel like about the Demethior and like Faramir thing is that he just sits there and eats like things that has to drip down his fucking face the entire time.
That's the most horrific thing in the whole trilogy: the eating of the tomatoes.
Yeah, he's just not like. It's funny. It's funny to have that guy who's like failing at everything and be like, "Oh, my dad's disappointed in me." He's like, "Yeah, but your dad's barely keeping it together with what he's doing." Like
He doesn't even know how to chew his tomatoes. Like,
Which so what?
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure to get those all castings out while I had both the actresses here. That's it. That's why I was like, just crowbarring that bit into the show at that moment in time. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that the first Caterwaull that I went out to on the way back, I think that guy was on my airplane from Chicago.
No way.
But he's the kind of guy you would have to like have. Okay, dude, pull up a picture. What is he? Like
yeah. I'm like I sent the picture
Without the hair,
like a
who is
private
he?
cat, and I'm just like. And I'm like, is that
Wait,
is that
John
Walter Bishop from
Noble?
Friends?
Is that who you're talking
Yeah,
about?
John Noble. He lives in Connecticut.
Oh.
Yeah.
I found this out afterwards. Like I was like looking things up about him. Like, could that
Don't
be?
dox
He lives
him.
in Connecticut?
Exactly.
Yeah,
At
the
this
entire state
at
of
121 Elderberry. Whoa, hold on. Yeah. Okay.
And then he's like,
I
I'm
didn't put
standing
up his
outside of there
address,
right now. I'm gonna meet him.
And he's right here.
He's great. Character is meant to be annoying because the whole time you're like, Jesus Christ, you got a war going on. Like, stop being such an idiot, right? But I think the extended edition. I think you get the most out of the extended edition for the Two Towers.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I think so.
There's the most stuff, and you get
God,
the most
yeah.
out of it. Even though, like, if you consider it like this movie is a delivery system for Helm's Deep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine, but like you get the stakes. You get the stakes of why it's like there's all these like internal politics. There's there's emotional familial disappointment and like so on and so on. I think you get a better understanding of what the Steward of Gondor is.
Yeah,
with the theatrical version. Of course, I know. I read the books, but if you don't, you're like, who's that? He's the king?
Yeah.
No, he's a Steward of Gondor. I'm sorry. What does that mean?
Yeah, and I do think that like when people think about like the trilogy, they're like, okay, so like the Fellowship is the one where like all of the character is being introduced, and the second one is the fight scenes plus Gollum, and then the last one is just like taking forever to wrap up. So like when you distill it into that or whatever, then it's like okay, like maybe, but with those extended editions, like the lore that is so important to why Two Towers is supposed to be there, and that it's not just one extended fight scene is very important, and I love that. And also
as much as what an amazing fight scene it is, but still it's not like...
It's hard for me to imagine adding more time to Two Towers though. That's the only one that I feel like
because it's Two Towers is like the extended is just almost 4 hours, right? I mean it's
It is literally 4 hours, and like that's the one that gets the least high rating. It's the other two are both in the top 10 rated movies of IMDb. That's the only one in the trilogy that doesn't do that. But like you nailed it,
because that's when they introduced fucking Gollum, who's one of the greatest movie characters of all time, and we're just gonna forget about that. Like,
let's not forget about one of the only great CGI characters in moviedom, right?
Yeah, very,
yeah.
KT, I think you wanted to jump in a little bit on something, right?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that you really hit the nail on the head with that. The Steward of Gondor. What Aragorn really is not entirely clear unless you have all that extended information. Like this scene where he's sitting there with her and she's like, wait a minute, you're a Dunedain? Like how old is he? And how he can't possibly be in a relationship with her. He's not even really human. And like why he's not just really good at archery. Like
plus you find out her you find out her cooking sucks, and you get a great comedic beat out of that because Aragorn's like, terrible. That's a great scene.
Exactly.
No, but you're honest because otherwise you're like, what's with this Aragorn guy? What's his whole deal? Why doesn't he just go become king? Right? What
why isn't he just a guy? You know.
And like they go to see the city of dead kings, and like you get Legolas explaining what's going on while they walk down there to like I think this fucking guy knows.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then it's in the theatrical version. It's more like, oh, cool. Now these dead guys are showing up, right on. But like the whole like, oh no, you're releasing them from the fact that like they can't rest because they are cowards or traitors or whatever, and this allows them to have their final rest. That's their motivation for coming to aid in the battle, which, to be fair, is a baller scene. Like, I mean, like when they come out, it's just like, oh, and you just see just like mowing over everyone.
I got that at least like that much from the theatrical one though. Like they do.
I think you get it, but you don't get. How can I explain this? I think it's just way better in the extended edition because there's more of a beat to absorb. Because you always get the visuals. Your first time seeing it, you get the visuals. Wow, that's crazy. Those are a bunch of ghosts. That's wild. That's a cool looking character design. Oh man, that guy didn't floss that much. Whatever you're focused on, right? And I think that is kind of for some people that are not as into the lore, into the movies, like maybe like they're not going to pay as much attention to that. Like, that's a weird little side quest. Okay, and then they show up, you're like, oh yeah, it's those guys. So it's not like it didn't work, but I feel like you get an emotional resolution for them. And that's so much more important because again, it's such like high emotion when you get to that last battle of just like, oh my God. And then like, oh, we're totally boned. Everything's like horrible, and you see like, oh, and then here come the reinforcements. All right, great. There's that up,
one
down all around.
Even in the theatrical one, there's that one beat where they almost just don't release them from their like obligation or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, there's that moment in suspense that it's like, are they going to release them from their obligation? And they're just like waiting, like, come on, I got to get out of here. Like,
it's big like Donald Trump energy where he like throws it to the crowd. Should I do it? Should I do it, everyone? It's like, oh my God, yes, do it. Jesus Christ.
Clap if you
and
want
like it's such a bigger stakes in the extended version to have that relief and to know like, oh my God, it's him relieving them for all of this. Like it just doesn't wait that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then the stakes are all the more earned where it's like, no, like that is the titular line, the return of the king. Like he's doing all of these like kingly things, even though he's completely reluctant about it.
I like that. By the way, I like
joking about not knowing why Two Towers is Two Towers.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
I like that all three movies find a way to drop the like the title into it at some point. Like you have Saruman's Two Towers speech where he's like, Sauron and Saruman, the Two Towers. There's like,
yeah.
At one point, they're like, it's the return of the king or something. Like somebody whispers that to someone else, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, there it is. And then they have like,
the
fellowship.
In the fellowship where he literally like milks it. He's like, the fellowship of the ring.
Yeah. See, we're doing the thing.
Full motif in its full extended orchestral beauty.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I can if you're like building up to saying the title of the movie in a movie, I can forgive like a lot of hackness with that. Like if somebody's like the Two Towers. All right.
There it is.
You know what I just heard about, speaking of that scene where he says the title of the movie, so when they're at the fellowship and they're deciding who's going to go on this journey. So I just found out this piece of trivia. Apparently, Sean Bean did not, they wrote that scene like the day before and Sean Bean didn't know his lines. So when he's sitting there as Boromir, like doing his thing where he's like, no one simply walks into his script.
Yeah.
Lap. And he's literally just reading that. He's like, one simply does not walk into. And I was like, dude.
Amazing.
I remember in like 2012.
So convincing and it's memed so much.
It's like the meme, dude. Yeah, absolutely.
It became a meme though. Like not just a meme. It became a meme like a decade after the movie came out.
It's had like 3 lives.
And then all of a sudden they just kept on putting out like one does not simply.
It was definitely a meme when it came out, but it's had like 4 lives, and one of them was
so
like
real. This one time, recently, I did an opera and I didn't quite know my Italian, and I had to, as my character, read a Bible, and my like note cards with my lines were like in the Bible. So like as I'm singing, I'm like looking down, and people think I'm really studious about my
right, yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm literally like, like
Yeah,
like a full
I
thing.
did the write it on the arm thing. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
so
you know,
I'm like,
if you make it work.
okay. I was like, it's not professional.
Yeah. Look.
Technique.
Technique. So if you land it, it's great. No, but I think KT, I think it was on your show on What If I Don't Like It that I learned that homie climbed the mountain every day to go to work, which is so he could be in character. That's some real Daniel Day-Lewis stuff, by the way.
Well,
And it was because he was very, very scared of helicopters.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I mean,
cool. He's right.
Yeah, we don't have to immediately take the magic out of it to explain why, Andy. I understand that's a thing you like to do, but you don't have to. But like, I love the fact that like all the crew's like, yeah, there he is. All right, there's going. You know, like I mean, that's all. However, the reason why it's pretty badass.
When I was a kid, I thought his name was Sean Bean.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that it it's Sean Bean. Like so, I was like, Sean Bean, the guy from
Scene.
Scene Bean, the guy who died in literally everything.
Scene Bean would be his podcast. SCENEBEAN. Scene Bean. There you go.
I had Boromir as an action figure, and you would press his back, and he would like put up the shield or whatever. And I was like, "Look, I'm playing with Steve."
You press his back. You'd press his back, and he'd betray you. It's great. He
tried to grab the ring.
Exactly. Ring grab in action. GRABBIN. Apostrophe.
Isn't he also the Winter is Coming meme too?
Yeah, he is. He's a very memed, very widely killed person.
Yeah, he's got the Steve Buscemi thing where people make the compilations of every time he's been killed off in something.
Yeah.
He's
like,
yeah.
And man, but his death, man,
so fucking long to die in Fellowship of the Ring.
long.
He takes so fucking long. He just gets I like that he keeps getting hit by arrows. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I remember watching it.
And then when it's over, there's like
really
7
funny.
more coming.
Yeah.
Which is like a different line in Return of the King. When the Hobbit there is sitting there going like, it didn't take one arrow to fell him. It took,
It's like, yo, he ain't lying. You should have checked it out.
We're like, we have to justify that editing choice somehow.
But I also like how the extended editions, like you get nice little scenes, like with Faramir. Like why does this Hobbit care about this man? Well, because you get a point where they're bonding. Like it's like, oh, he's wearing this mithril. No, it's not mithril. It's a regular armor, or whatever. But he's like, oh yeah, that was mine when I was a kid. Basically, it didn't fit me then either. Like they're having these little moments of bonding, so you get like that context for it. That are like, is it essential to the story? Well, if you want to know why he's jumping into the fire to save him, maybe it is essential. Yeah, because you're like, don't they barely know each other? Like, what the hell? It's just crazy.
And then they give him a girlfriend at the end of the extended edition.
They certainly do. And, it works out. Which definitely seems like last two people at the party kind of like, all right, yeah, why don't we?
Yeah, why not?
That is like that's the classic marriage thing when you're not the upper son of a family, right? When you're like it's like they're trying to marry off each child to somebody else to like secure a certain line, or in the case of the Sword of Gondor, to get into a certain a certain line in the first place because they're not in a royal line. So eventually you have to like pair off your fucking like youngest son with somebody else that's still single and be like, well, we made some kind of match. Like, hey, maybe he'll be the heir of Rohan one day.
Yeah. Well, I don't buy them as a couple because they're both brooding, rejected people. So they really understand each other's like plight. So it's fine.
Well, but it's crazy. Like, so in the books, they recuperate the House of Healing, and that's kind of when they fall in love, right? And that's we'll get to that. But I think it works because it's like, well, first of all, visually. I know that people on this stream agree because someone has them as their subtitle. But the Witch King battle and like the reveal of like, well, no man can fell me. I am no man. Great, fantastic. Like that's like again another one of the hardest scenes in cinema where it's like, yes.
That's why we can't have any more woke.
One of the hardest scenes in literature. Yeah.
all the badass characters get killed off by the first woman they meet, and that's why we gotta get the woke stuff out of the movies.
It's a pedant's dream, really. Like, oh well, yeah, you're invulnerable. No man can kill you. Great, I'm good.
Lord of the Rings absolutely does not pass the
I'm a woman,
test, but it did start feminism, so that's cool.
Right. I mean, yeah, but I think it works so well. I think like it's a great moment in the book, but I think it works so well theatrically as a scene in the film because it's like, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because you see the Witch King just like smoking fools to the left, to the right, to the middle, and you're like, how are they going to stop this guy? Like, there's no way to stop this dude. Well, there you go.
That is an interesting scene.
Yeah, but
because...
it's like the theatrical one. He doesn't do shit. He just shows up and he's like, "I'm here," and then she's like, "All right, I'm gonna cut off your dragon's head,"
Right.
and then he's like, now you got my dragon." Like, and then she's like, "I got you," and he's like, "It's like a 5-minute scene." And it's like, damn, this is the guy that nobody could defeat.
The stakes you don't get the build up, so you don't get the reveal doesn't matter as much as the stakes. What were we gonna say, KT?
Oh, I was gonna say of that particular scene. It's weird because the very first time I saw it, I had not read the book at all, and that kind of matches the armor the very first time we see Sauron, Sauron, yeah. And so I thought that was a corporeal version of him, even though he never becomes physical. And I thought that she was defeating at the end, not the Witch King, which I know that is who that is. But like, it kind of, as a kid, I was like, oh yeah, they beat the big bad guy.
Yeah, right on. Way to go.
Yeah.
Plant the flag. Movie's over.
Same
nope.
fingers,
17 more endings.
Same armor. Yeah. I didn't like that actress's portrayal of that. It didn't hit as hard as I thought it could have.
Yeah. She's good. I mean, nobody's bad. Like even like Liv Tyler catches a lot of flack, which again I think she's for the role that she was given. I thought she did fine. She did fine. She, half that role is the look, and she nailed it. So
yeah.
I
do
think
want to comment on what somebody put up in the below though. Oh, sorry. Somebody said about the Deagle Smeagol scene.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that is one great example of an extra scene that was included that didn't go far enough, because it shows you like I needed to see that he was really made to do that by the ring, and that he wasn't just a shit version of a store. He's not quite a hobbit. He's like a version of a hobbit, but like I needed a little bit more.
Yeah, it's very important to the story though, because it's like I think that, and I mean it comes along a little bit, further. Along in the story, but at the same time, like it really sets you up well for that final scene with like Frodo's battle at Mordor, because the thing is that it's just like he was a hobbit, he was just like Pippin or Merry, like they were the Pippin and Merry of their time, and like look, like even someone who's like a silly goofy guy is like can be impacted by this, like it's like the innocence can from you so quickly, and that is the power of the ring. So if you didn't get it from the first like 2 movies, it's just to show that it's just like like even the most innocent among us like are not safe.
It's like in a way it's like the monolith in
but like a hobbit is
2001. It's like the monolith in 2001: A Space Odyssey, where like the early humans are all kind of just wandering around, and like they touch the monolith, and all of a sudden they just start fucking killing each other with tools. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of like device. It's like it not only blesses you with like a crazy amount of like power and like knowledge and stuff, but also turns you fucking evil. And I think they do a good job. Like I think Scene Bean over there does a good job with that too. Every time he literally just sees, he's like a cop with fentanyl. Like he sees the ring and he's like, I'm evil now. Like
his nostrils get all flary and he's just like in.
But I'm not sure they make it clear that Smeagol isn't just a shitty guy. Like he's a weak character to begin with. Like it truly is the ring that gets him.
He's just
all the crazy that as a hobbit he still talks like that. There's like, I'm just a doll. And
when I was like, oh my god, no, that's literally been his voice the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. He was always kind of screwed up. Yeah, you get the feeling he was maybe not right in the beginning. Exactly. I completely agree. I think that it's first of all, Scene Bean, like and subscribe, everybody. But but I think that I like seeing him before he gets Gollumfied. I think it's a weird placement. Of where that is, where it's like, I don't know if I need this scene, and then it kind of like sets. It's like then you're all off kilter, and then like, let's go get that Saruman guy. Okay, that maybe get started with that, and then bring in this like weird sort of like
theatrical cut. You don't even see that. The theatrical cut, it just starts with that, and then they're like, the Palantir, he's dead.
Yeah. And it was like, whoa, what? Like it's like that's too much. You cut too much.
What?
Like because now I don't understand what's happening. Yeah, I mean, not me. I'm talking about talking about other people.
Imagine not seeing the other two and just going for the third one for whatever reason. And
you'd be like, what is happening? I don't understand anything about what's happening right now. I need a man to explain this to me.
I only watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What's going on?
Someone in the comments said that they're like, I like the insights into orc culture from the extended editions with the orcs like beefing with each other. One thing that I find really funny,
orc culture, aka the RNC, right?
Yeah. Real. One of my favorite things is when they're like having their little infighting when they're cutting down the trees, and then they kill one of the orcs, and then one of the orcs says, "Looks like meat's on the menu," and I was like, "Hold up! How do the orcs know what a menu is?"
Yeah. What does an orc menu look like? Yeah.
That was like
was it 86
restaurants. We need to explore.
Is there a secret?
There should be a Disney Plus. Oh, I guess it'd be Amazon Plus streaming prestige series about the orc restaurant.
Yeah, they have like an elf Guy Fieri like going in there.
That's like they have like, I guess, meat's back on the menu, boys. They have that as like a 4chan style meme. Like they post some really fucked up shit. And then
what does that menu look like? It has to be terrible, right? It's like half a star.
I'm intrigued.
By the way, I repeatedly referred to the whole like Saruman like orc factory as a meth lab in my recent Letterboxd reviews, and I stand by that assessment.
Yeah, no, you're valid for that.
Because he's wrecking the neighborhood, it's causing all these toxic fumes.
Bad. You're like, where's that fucking smoke coming from?
Right, exactly. It's a meth lab.
Maybe the extended edition they touch more on it. I wish they had touched more on the fact that Saruman's making a bunch of guys. They really kind of just gloss over that. He's like, I'm making a bunch of guys, and then they're like,
it's
okay.
like, I'm sorry, what?
That fucking motherfucker's making a bunch of guys, dude. That can't be good.
He's making an army over there, creating one.
And what's very interesting is that it's like they touch on it a little bit between Gandalf and Saruman's like discussion in the tower about how he was like, we're gonna fight Sauron ourselves or whatever, but it becomes like unclear because when Gandalf's like, oh, he's turning to the dark side. But actually, the reason he was making the orc army originally was he was like, we're going to cut down all these trees, we're going to make the orc army, and then we're going to use them against Saruman. But in the movies, it makes it seem like or Sauron. But in the movies, it makes it seem like Sauron's just like, no, we're building the orc army because like Sauron's not strong enough, I guess. So we need like more dudes. But like, so it's like the intention from the book is different from the movie, which can be a little bit like, I was a little confused at that time, and I'm like, yeah, why is he making all those guys? Why make them so ugly and smelly?
Well, in the
they look like Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
in the Fellowship, there's at least the theatrical version of it. Like there is a thing where he's looking into the Palantir, and the first thing that Sauron says to him, he's like, what are my orders or something? And Sauron's like, make a bunch of guys.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm just cooking up some guys.
Making up some dudes. I'm making up some guys from my army. Yeah.
I'm making my labor and my food for the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane.
You don't even have to pay him union wages. It's great. Yeah.
It's fucking insane that the guys he's making he's smashing orcs and goblins together.
Yeah.
He's like, so they're gonna be smart like goblins, but then like, ferocious like orcs, and it's like,
that has big like kids such as myself taking their action figures apart and putting them back in different ways. Energy, which I definitely did a lot of.
He melts his action figures, then he like builds them back up. Like,
but literally, like, I mean, you take like,
it's like,
I'm gonna take this He-Man figure's leg off, put it on a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, like whatever. I was bored. I don't know what I could tell you.
It's like Sid from Toy Story.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But I think all that works. We talked a little bit from the effects style on the earlier episode. I think that when the Ents finally get their asses going, which, by the way, I love the Ents now. When I first saw the movies, I was like, oh God, it's intolerable how long this is taking. Like I was there with the Hobbits. Like, Jesus Christ, you just said good morning. That was like 2 hours, But like I appreciate it way more. Maybe it's because I'm older and more patient now. I don't know, but then like also when Treebeard's like, oh shit, like they got all my guys. I'm like, yeah, because you're too busy jibber-jawing over there with all your tree buddies. Like, what the hell, man? What do you think is going to happen?
It's a metaphor for how we don't address climate change, actually.
Right, exactly. But it's almost like an allegory. Well, and it also reminded me a bit of, and I know he explicitly said it's not about World War II, everyone, but like, it was, if anything, it was about World War I. But the idea of like not getting involved in foreign wars because it doesn't directly affect you.
Yeah,
right, and which is unfortunately timeless. It makes sense, but like when the Ents actually do go to action, it's badass. Like when they wreck that meth lab, it's like yes, please.
So freaking cool. when I saw the Lord of the Rings musical, I was so excited for puppet Ents, and I didn't get them. I only got an allusion to Ents, and I was really bummed because I knew that they had the puppetry budget. They spent all their puppetry budget on 2 minutes of Shelob, though, and it was a really good.
I've heard nothing but good things about that.
Yeah, it was very cool. I was like, okay, if you're gonna puppet anything, like giant
make it the big spider. Yeah,
like so sick.
Question for the non-extended version: were the Ents as fully developed in the non-extended version? Because I feel like the Ents more because I've seen a fuller version of their story. I understand them better.
Yeah, I think that when I watched the theatrical version, I kind of just were like, oh, cool, big old tree guys. But like, I didn't understand their motivations or their politics. And then they kind of, they explain a little bit more about that in the extended.
Yeah, it's like the UN or something. But yeah, you get more time. You certainly get more time with them running around. Well, not running around. Sauntering around Treebeard with Merry and Pippin. You get more of just kind of, which is cool because you see like, oh, it's like they're up high, but they're like moving really slow. Like it's a really cool looking scene, but I could see where you're like, hey, this is 4 hours. Like we gotta cut a thing or two. Like maybe like this
some tree stuff. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like if we're gonna keep the trees, let's have them like wrecking up Saruman's joint because that's awesome. That's staying.
Which just shout out to the Ent that's on fire that runs and puts his head out. Like
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, off every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pro Ent, and I'm glad it didn't go the way of Tom Bombadil and them get cut because it very easily could have been, right? And I think that I think that having the Ents gets across the sort of really fantastical otherworldliness of Lord of the Rings in a way that, elves are great. I love elves, but it's like, okay, yeah, they're really awesome folks with pointy ears who live a long time, Yeah. Great, I get it.
Good.
I think the thing with the Ent part of it, it's like it makes sense. It makes sense in terms of like industrialization and how the world is changing in this like really radical way in the in the 19th to 20th century. But like it starts much earlier, and they're just kind of feeding trees to the woodchipper, and it's like, all right, well, if trees can like if trees can like talk and like have emotions and kind of freak out, like then how are they just allowed to be cut down like this, or why is nobody?
Right, it's genocide, right?
Like, yeah. But then your answer is kind of that the trees are archaic and like ancient enough that they don't really know what's going on, and it takes so long for them to even have their language spoken into this like cipher and stuff that the guardian of the trees is not really able to do shit about it. And it's like
you can see where they would get their asses got. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Were the Ents in the Rankin Bass version? I don't remember. Does anybody remember?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I haven't seen that in forever.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too. I don't remember.
All right, well there you go. Well, we'll get our top researchers on.
We'll let you know. Yeah,
exactly.
in our next Lord of the Rings episode.
Yeah, he's they are, and I don't remember. Well, I guess I remember him looking like this. Hold on, I'm gonna try to pull it up.
You got a picture? Oh yeah, throw it up.
Or at least Treebeard is. I don't know if all the Ents are, but
yeah, I'm sure they cut the Ents on the fire.
Anticipate.
Oh, I guess it's Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, not the Rankin Bass one that they're in.
Oh, Rankin and Bass's Hobbit and Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. That's right, because I was the one that was calling out John.
Yeah. You're right.
That's good. I was agreeing with you, and you tried to correct me.
It's very Californian of you. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Totally. Yeah. No. Yeah. No.
No.
John Hurt as Strider rocked, is what I want to say in that.
Yeah.
Well, but Rankin Bass also did Return of the King, but not the other. Like, just made a movie called Return of the King, and didn't.
That's right. They just did the. That's right. Yeah.
And they didn't have the estate for permission. That's right. So they just threw together like a Return of the King movie.
Yeah. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Yeah.
Give me that trap version.
How do we feel about
Bakshi Treebeard though?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
C.
I mean, he's a tree with a beard.
minus.
You got that right.
It's got some beefy arms, look like chicken legs.
I was like, okay.
Do you even lift Treebeard?
Like, I don't know if I'm hungry or if those really do look like drumsticks.
Right, they do kind of look like drumsticks. Not wrong about that.
Like, that's what I had for dinner.
how I feel like. So it's interesting we talked about the alt casting and just the absolute train wreck that was avoided by having James Corden potentially as Samwise.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a bit of a career maker for Frodo, right? But like, I feel like if it isn't those two guys, like we don't get this being as the timeless movie that it is, because the way that they play off each other is so beautiful.
I love them so much, and I know that some people are just gonna be like, Frodo and Sam are gay, and like maybe I don't know, maybe they should have kissed. Sean Astin thinks that they should have, and I agree with him. I think we should have.
It definitely goes a little bit beyond bromance for sure, but I don't think it has. Also, dudes can just be friends and like actually care for each other too.
I also it's one of the like. At one point, they're like, "Who is that guy?" And then Frodo's just like, "Oh, that's my gardener." And it's like, "Come on, man, he's more than that."
Yeah, right, exactly.
The thing that's so special about this story is that it is one of the few epic stories about platonic friendship and the importance of that in life without the other connotations. Yes, and how important and powerful that is.
I once
like
watched
it's the classic knight and his like the knight always has like not like an errand boy, like a squire, but like
a squire.
It's something like that. But I like that it goes past that and it develops. It's like this relationship.
Yeah, I think I read something one time that was talking about how even though Lord of the Rings, it's like they have strong female characters in there, they don't talk to each other, but they're there, but they're very like minimal compared to the male characters, and yet Lord of the Rings specifically appeals to more women, and the fan base appeals to more women than other fandoms, and it's because of this idea of like non-toxic male camaraderie and not necessarily guys just like razzing each other, you know, the way that
dudes
they do
being guys.
Like the way that they do in the Star Wars universe and so forth, that can be a little bit toxic toward women. But like the Lord of the Rings universe, like it's very accessible for women because these are like non-threatening, more non-morally ambiguous men that you can trust. And I'm like, like leave me alone. And I'm fine. So
they're objectively doing good. Yeah,
maybe we could have come up with a better plan if the women had talked to each other. Like,
if only they were all talking. But
take it up with Tolkien.
Well, one of the things Tolkien was trying to do was to like break the mold of what we think of as the hero, and that's why Aragorn is a lot more like in touch with his feelings and a much more well-rounded character. Why Faramir, was had the arc that he had because he wasn't, where Boromir was the classic hero. Faramir is like what the ideal man should be. He's going to screw up from time to time, but he's actually ends up being probably the best leader out of all of them, and should sit on the throne of Rohan at some point, or
which Andy, you bring up a great point, because one of the only extended scenes I don't love is that like when he basically has Gollum more or less tortured, like they're kicking him around, and it's like you don't need that. First of all, you don't need it. It seems out of character, but it's not as out of character as one of my favorite deleted scenes, which is the Mouth of Sauron, which as a character design is incredible and amazing.
So scary,
but from a tension level, from a narrative building, in fact, you have the two narratives going, it's distracting because like your focus needs to be on like Frodo and Sam. And also, not to put too fine a point on it, Aragorn's like, well, F you then, and chops his head off. And it's like, he's an ambassador. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That's like some GDT style shit. That's like some Pan's Labyrinth style fucking character design.
The character design is so good. It's so badass, though.
I'm so glad that the Batman Who Laughs stole that design because it looks so awesome.
Yeah. But I think in that same way that like I think every other scene with Faramir you get a better handle on his character and why you should give a damn about him. But the scene where he's just like there's him and his boys are booting Gollum around, it's like that's just not necessary. It just doesn't feel like a thing that he should be doing, nor do you need it. And in that same way, I would argue that you could keep Mouth of Sauron, or the fact that it would actually probably take away focus because you're like, wow, that fucking Mouth of Sauron, crazy. Except for Aragorn, shouldn't kill him. Literally in the book, like what he does, he stares him down, and the Mouth of Sauron's like, yo, I'm out. Like I can tell nothing's good gonna happen if I stay here. And this is this like eldritch creature with this. I'm just gonna keep talking. That has like huge mouth and is all and he's been like just desiccated in service of Sauron for like years and years. And Aragorn gives him a look, and he's like, I'm out. And that's actually kind of better. But then by the same token, like, I don't think Viggo, as great as he is, could have really pulled that off. Because that's not the vibe it is giving off, right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I hate
God,
I hate the animated Mouth of Sauron so much. Hold on.
Yeah.
I hate this so fucking much.
What a doogan.
That is trash from the trash can. I would not be scared of that at all.
He looks French. Like that guy would walk up and if he didn't have a French accent, I'd be fucking disappointed. He'd be like, "Oh, I am the Mouth of Sauron."
This dude would walk up and give unrequested facts like Andy does. Where it's like, oh, come on, man, I don't care. Like that's fine. Like, but it's like that does not look menacing to me. Like that just looks like he's like, I don't know, yeah, French, sure, vaguely annoying. I mean, like whatever. Like the mouth. Can we get it? All right, can we get a still? Just people who want to talk. I want to say the Mouth of Sauron. Everyone here has seen the extended editions, but I'm not sure people that are listening or watching the show know. The character design on this is one of the honestly better than the Witch King. I'm sorry, Witch King is cool, but like Mouth of Sauron is so sick. I said in the other show that like Blumhouse could like make an entire series just based on like the look of this dude, where it's like, oh man,
badass.
Yeah. Right, and like to compare that to like the Knights Who Say Knee over there, you know, I mean,
literally.
and the way how expressive the mouth is, even with all those prosthetics, is just amazing performance that this actor gives too.
That's what I imagine George Washington's mouth looked like.
Well,
well, and then like when he's talking, it's all like that's all
and
moving
you're
and
zoomed
like
in on it.
Yeah,
it's I like that he has one job. It's to be a mouth and he doesn't take care of his teeth.
Well, the dental sucks over
one
there.
Job.
And that's why my dentist always floss shames me.
Weirdly, Soren has a 401k, but not dental.
Bummer.
It's
that Middle Earth healthcare system, am I right?
I know.
But it makes me wonder about like, are there other Sauron body parts that he's not like? He's not
like the dick of Sauron or something. What are you talking about?
I mean, I wasn't gonna go. I was gonna try to.
Middle Earth dicks, except for
They're like, oh man, that's the dick of Sauron. But
it's just Richard Nixon.
But no, I like he's like the kidney of Sauron.
The elbow of Sauron. It's just like tries not to get like scratched on things.
I don't want to see no Middle Earth liver. Sounds not great.
Not looking for it.
Nope.
But so Lauren, and I know you got to get going soon. Yeah. How do you feel about the actual like ring bearer, like the whole like getting the ring into Mordor and how that goes down, Gollum's weird little dance, like all that stuff, that whole sequence? How do you feel about that all?
The little dance. I think when I saw that when I was 13, I do think I laughed. Yeah. And I think that I laughed last week when I saw the musical. I think I always have laughed. I think it's funny.
Oh yeah, he does. It's a weird little dance. I mean, objectively, right?
The thing is, I don't think that because the ring is so powerful, I don't think it could have actually legitimately been destroyed by someone who's trying to take it seriously. I don't think it could have happened. I think you have to trip on a rock and just fall in. Yeah. And I think that that's the only way you can do it. So is it a little goofy? Like, yeah, but like also nobody was going to do it. No one is capable. So you have to destroy it.
And they said, Mr. Frodo, will you do it? And I said, oh. I said,
I don't know. Should I do it, folks? Should I do it? Yeah.
Yeah. What? But I did laugh about it. But also like I laugh at a lot of the things that Gollum does because he's just like a silly goofy. He's just a
little guy. Yeah.
He's like my cat.
Little bits of like Smeagol that come out that are still Hobbit. I'm just like, oh, he's just a little guy.
Somebody had a really great Reddit comment about Gollum's like, falling into the thing, and he's like, they were like, look, it's a perfect scene because in a way, because his last thought isn't anything to do with the fact that he's getting burned up in lava. Like his last thought is like, I can't believe the ring betrayed me after all this time.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, and also the way that he's like hugging it when he's like falling, like it's his like favorite stuffed animal or something. And then when he like slowly like realizes, it's like that is a really like that moment gives me chills. Like,
But it's such a like
just
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I just imagine like the all-consuming in a way, and I know this wasn't. I mean, it does mean kind of this, and it doesn't mean kind of this. Like, I think that it's about the corruption and power and stuff, but like also just like addiction of any kind, right? Like he becomes so consumed with addiction that it becomes like he just gets completely hollowed out, and like
he's smiling on the way down, right? Like he has what he wants. He's in his happy place.
It is very much like an addiction,
And Circus does such a great job. I mean, all the scenes. So I think of, and I agree. I think he really is a silly little guy, a lot of times. But like when you get his bad self and good self in discussion with each other, those scenes are great. It's so like.
Can you talk about inside thoughts
in the movie? Like the way that the way that he just goes like. And the way that it's edited, I think, is like so fascinating.
Because you see Sam just being like, it looks like he's muttering to himself, like, "What do you want about?" Like, what? And he doesn't trust him at all. But like, then you see, like, it's like, oh no, he's literally like, one part of him wants to murder them, and one of them actually does want to be redeemed too.
He doesn't know anything about like inside thoughts. Like some of those thoughts need to have an inside, because he's like, "I'm gonna murder the hobbitses," and then it's like,
he's like,
buddy.
It's like the dictionary definition of intrusive thoughts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He also says the name Smeagol. He's obviously forgotten that his name is Smeagol, and that like reawakens the part of him that's actually good. And he says it later on. He goes, like when he's telling like the story of his life, he's like, "We forgot the taste of bread and the sound of trees, and like even our own name or something." And it's like, oh shit! Like by saying the name, it kind of reawoke it. Like it reawakened, I guess, the good side of him, or like the normal, like non-ring, And then it becomes kind of heartbreaking that when he gets beaten up by Faramir and all of them, he feels like he's been completely betrayed by by Frodo, who promised like, "Oh, I'm gonna like look out for you and I'm gonna take care of you." So that's when he just completely goes to the dark side, and then continues to keep saying, "I'm gonna murder the hobbits."
Yeah,
and real quick, Gandalf, like when his name is spoken, like it reminds him, right? So it rhymes in that way, right? Where someone else that for different reasons has kind of forgotten who he is. So anyway, go ahead, Lauren.
I think what I like so much about Gollum too is that it's like in the Lord of the Rings, you can really see like there is such a delineation between like good and evil forces, right? And it's like, these are our good guys, these are our bad guys. And Gollum is kind of neither. He's just like, he's doing his own thing, and it's like he's being affected by the ring in the ways that many of our other heroes are. Right. But like he is, but he doesn't sit on one side or the other. He's sitting with his own demons. And so it's like, I love that we go back and forth between like fearing him and pitying him, and like we go on this kind of morally ambiguous like ping-ponging journey with him that we don't go on with everyone else that we are actively rooting for or against. And I think that that's such an interesting part of the whole.
You go on it with Frodo, who feels like the only way that he can stop himself from becoming Gollum is to keep Gollum alive and like not to keep him
right. That's his redemption, but but it is definitely it's interesting because it's almost like you could write a story like from the perspective of Gollum, right?
Yeah,
like you could do like a Wicked style reimagining. Where
apparently they are. Apparently there's a Gollum.
Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are.
All right. They're doing his own spinoff, and Andy Serkis is back in. He's going to.
That's me. They're probably wondering how I ended up here.
Record scratch. Yeah, exactly. It's a fish out of water story. He's running a restaurant for orcs.
Yeah.
And Elf Guy Fieri shows up.
Exactly.
And then I'm like, when do we get our restaurant?
First end of the first episode. Hey, everybody meets back in the menu.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Yes. Well, I gotta head out, you guys. I wish I could stay, but I have to go see a Sondheim. But this is so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, do you have any closing thoughts that you want to get out for you go?
Other than this, like just being like the most important thing in my whole life. Like I was telling Forrest, because I literally bullied Forrest into putting me on this episode. Like Renee's lost my game, and and I was like, Forrest, I have 4 Lord of the Rings tattoos, please.
Yeah.
Love you. But I think what I love so much.
Bullying works, as we've learned on this show.
Bullying works. So I think the thing that makes Lord of the Rings so magical to me, and what has always made it so magical to me, because I saw it in theaters when I was 11, and I think it was the first time that I was like cognizant of like, oh, this is like cinema, and I just felt like it was just like I had never seen something so epic and something that I related to so heavily just because of the themes of friendship and the themes of like, you know, wrestling with your own inner demons and things like that. And I just like, and I think the thing that has made it stand the test of time for me is just like the amazing like passion that was put into this movie. If you like watched a couple years ago, they did like a reunion Zoom during the pandemic of all of the people.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And like to see all of these faces of all of these people from this trilogy come up and just like so happy to see each other, so happily reminiscing about their time on set, like just the joy. It comes through in the performances. You see it in all the behind the scenes materials, even though it was a probably really grueling thing to do because they filmed all the films all at once. It's like just the attention to the detail and the love that just like is just pumped through this trilogy, like is the reason why it just has stood the test of time as something that is just so beloved in a way that like the Hobbit movies didn't and the like series doesn't. It's because it's because the love is the missing ingredient.
They also have that on the giant Zoom. Sean Astin starts having like tech problems with his fucking Zoom account, and they start just
hard
like,
relatable
dog piling on him in the middle of the fucking Zoom call.
It's so cute. Like they're all besties and it's so sweet. And they are all really like a fellowship. And yeah,
right.
I just think it's
they
so
got
cute.
tattoos. They all got tattoos of
They all got matching tattoos. I know.
Amazing.
I just love them so much. And yeah, I could talk about it forever and ever and I will never stop. And yeah, it's just like, I just think it's the best movie in the whole world.
Well, I'm glad you were able to be on it.
I know. I'm really happy to be here, you guys. I will tune in later to hear the rest of your deliberations. But yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yay!
Thank
All
you.
right.
Till next time.
Bye, friends. Bye-bye.
Enjoy your show.
Thank you.
I think it's first of all, I think it's amazing that the woman with the elf ears on is the second biggest super nerd for Lord of the Rings on the panel. But
with the armaments, it's actually make her own version
with the actual swords in shot.
So I said the thing about that clip because I really have to
do it.
Do it.
Wait, what's going on? Okay.
Entertaining and successful franchise, as has been the Lord of the Rings films and The Hobbit. Now, in 2003, when that came into your life, no one in Hollywood was expecting just how big that was going to become. Peter Jackson and Fran Welsh maybe didn't have like a huge track record that would suggest it. So how did they make you buy into their vision?
I had read The Hobbit when I was young, but I hadn't graduated onto the great book, Lord of the Rings. I never worn the pin, you know, Gandalf for president, which was the famous... Lord of the Rings took off in America rather than England first, and so they came round to my house, like a couple of hobbits, actually. But I'm not sure that Peter Jackson was even wearing shoes. He never does in New Zealand. And they sat on my sofa and they showed me some designs and they talked about the story. And rather grandly, I said, well, let me read the script. Oh, dear. And I wasn't mad keen. It was a year living in New Zealand, a place I'd always wanted to visit. I'd heard how beautiful it was. A year away from home, on a script that wasn't quite complete, based on books that I didn't know about. It wasn't the huge, big, chance of a lifetime that it turned out to be. Oh, a number of stories involved in how I very nearly couldn't do it because initially I was asked by Tom Cruise to be in the Mission Impossible 2. And they would only show me a part of one scene. I couldn't read the whole script in case I told people. So I said, I'm sorry, I can't be in your film because I don't know what it is. And my agent said, "You're turning down the chance to work with Tom Cruise?" I said, "Well, I don't know if it is a chance." Well, I did. That movie delayed and delayed and delayed. Tony Hopkins played my part. And if I'd contracted myself to do that, I wouldn't have been able to do X-Men, and I wouldn't have been able to do Lord of the Rings. Now, I'd agreed to do X-Men first with Brian, and he told me that his dates had slipped, so that I now couldn't arrive in New Zealand on time to do Gandalf. So I had to call up Peter Jackson and say, "Sorry, I'm not doing it because I promised to work in the other film first." He said, "Well, I'll keep it open for a bit." And that night, I was in Sheiky's restaurant in London having a fish supper, and Bob Shea came in. I didn't know him. He put his hands on my shoulder and said, "Looking forward to working with you, Ian." I said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going. I can't do it. I've got to do X-Men." He said, "Leave it to me." Well, an arrangement was made, and Brian, bless his heart, Brian Singer couldn't put it in writing, but he said to me, hand on heart, "I will make sure that you're ready if they can just slip their dates a little bit," and they did. And he finished me on time, and I started work on the first week of the millennium. And talking about what we thought was going to happen with this huge project, the internet had just been invented. You could send emails to people, you could access people's websites, you could begin to communicate with people who you would never meet. Like-minded people. And I used to send a regular diary from the set, as did Peter. And together we invented blogging.
Congratulations.
It had not been done before. I called it e-posts. Didn't catch on. Blogging. And we got messages back saying that there were many, many people who were very, very keen on the idea of this film as long as it was the film that they wanted to be made. That it was going to be their Middle-earth, and therefore they were constantly saying, "You are going to include so-and-so, you're not going to cut out Bomberbill, one of the characters." There was some disapproval of me playing Gandalf because I was a gay man. How pathetic. I mean, Gandalf isn't interested in sex. He's 7,000 years old. He's got over sex long ago. Anyway.
The only correct answer. I love that.
He's gotten over sex. He's 7,000 years old. I feel like he was talking about more than just Gandalf there.
I love the idea that he was eating a fish dinner while that happened too. That's very Lord of the Rings in of itself too. I think extended editions you get more depth with Merry and Pippin beyond the constant desire to eat more, which it seemed like the only thing that stayed in theatrical version.
Although hard relatable.
Why are these hobbits fat? They're always eating. But like, you know, you get, because at some point, like in the theatrical version, you're like, why are they in armor? Who's sending these hobbits out to war? Like, that seems like a bad idea. And then you see like, oh no, for very different reasons, like that's their idea, and like there's a build up to it. And again, there's just obviously there's going to be more context when you bring in these deleted scenes, right?
I do like the I definitely like the whole back and forth between Eowyn and Merry, I think, where they're not going to send the hobbits out to war, and she's a woman, so they're not going to send her out to war because she's the niece of the king. And then they go to war together, and they sneak out into the war or whatever, riding the fucking horse together. And
they're both not supposed to be there, and they're both like kind of doing it at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you finally get you get the context of like, well, they finally fucking killed the Witch King. Neither of them are men, right? Like one's a hobbit, one's a woman. Hobbit and woman, you know, what's the difference? No, but like
the war would have been lost if they didn't.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of like, that's again one of the key aspects of like these small decisions that have like huge ramifications, you know, like just like when he's like, go towards those elephants. That sounds like a horrible idea. those things are medieval AT-ATs. You're gonna get smoked, and lo and behold, they get smoked, and
Yeah, well, there's like the crazy thing of like once you've decided, because the whole first movie, you're like, ah, man, even when Theoden's fucking even when they excise Wormtongue, like the mouth of he's pretty much the mouth.
He's pretty much the mouth of Sauron, exactly.
But when they excise the mouth of Saruman from his court, and he gets to be 20 years younger, which they gotta bottle that and give it to all these celebrities that want to look 20 years younger.
He got on a med bed. Yeah, exactly.
But like so they finally he's finally, but then he still is like, all right, I'm still pussy, like I'm not gonna send all my guys out, like we're gonna go to Helm's Deep, we're gonna try to defend that instead of defending the entire kingdom of Rohan. And everyone's like, that sucks, but we'll go with you, I guess. And then they have their battle, and it feels like when they finally ride out to defeat the Oliphants or whatever and get crushed, it's like they've had no courage. It's like, that's too much courage, back it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You're overcompensating. Yeah. But then, I mean,
he's dying, and he's like, well, at least I won't be a disappointment to my ancestors. It's like, dude, I just feel like you could have hit it up to like an 8. You went to a 10.
Right.
Like,
you dialed it up to 10. Yeah, and they do eventually develop strategies for, get the, I almost said pilot. They're not pilots. They're, what do you call someone who's driving an elephant? I don't know.
I don't know.
The guider. I don't know. Get that guy. And that takes care of it. And like, I think there's some cool scenes, like the whole like, drive it over this way, and then then they're getting their own guys and so and so. And again, that's in the classic. Yeah, again, there is precedent for that, and it's called Star Wars. But but it's still rad.
It does feel Addy.
Yeah, it's hilarious that those guys are like the only Muslim guys in Middle Earth. Like the guy's name is Mumakil Mulhad or something, and they call the Oliphants like Mumak, and then they call the guys like Haradrim.
Right. It's like, not as bad as in like 300 or something, but it's
but it's like they went Dune.
It is like
they got all like the Asian-y armor for the bad guys, and it's like okay, I get what you're doing. Yeah.
You have to protect Middle Earth from the evil agent. Mordor hordes. They're gonna come in and they're gonna overthrow.
They're gonna take our jobs. Yeah, exactly.
So I have a question for the
group. Like they're gonna take your jobs. There's just like an orc working at like a fucking fish and chip restaurant. You want anything else? And they're like,
meat's not on the menu. I'm sorry.
Good callback. Good callback. What up, Katie?
I was gonna say I have a question for the group. I was curious. It might be a hard answer. Of all 3 of the movies, do you have a favorite scene?
One scene.
One scene.
I mean, I will have to say every single time I see the build up, because you got the special editions for this, that Rohan's not going to ride out for Gondor. Like Gondor didn't help them out in their battle. What are they going to do? And every single time, Aragorn's like they're calling us, and that pause, and you saw that in the opening, that pause, that where everybody's just like waiting for bated breath what the king is going to finally say, and he's like, we ride for Gondor, and I'm just like, fuck yeah.
That is it.
They do the whole thing where you see each beacon get lit up. So like first,
the signal scene is great.
They're like, Pippin set something on fire, and all of a sudden there's like the big fire, and then the next guy is like, the fire. That's my one.
And then job. 2 mountains over, the dude who's just sitting there like the Maytag repairman's like, oh shit, grab the torch. Like, no, that's a great scene, and that is definitely an moment.
Way better than 101 Dalmatians for sure too.
You were doing so well.
I like that also. They don't. It says, I like how understated and Rohan will answer is too. Like it's not because he could have been like, we will rot. Like you could have overplayed it. I like that they don't. They underplay it. He's like, and Rohan will answer, and it's like
amazing line reading. I have to go. I know it's been memed 100,000 times, but it still goes hard as hell. You shall not pass is amazing. That is like. Again, how many video games have ripped that off? How many lesser movies have ripped that off, right? And when we were talking about things that work as visual representations in the cinema, right? Like again, like the Witch King getting got, that scene actually plays fantastically despite anybody's acting prowess. That's a scene that that's made for movies. It's great in the books, but that's made for movies. And then even and then his whatever is his whippy whip gets his ankle, and then whatever, it still can't take away but that's that scene went hard. So if I had to pick just one, which is insane, that'd be like an insane thing to do, then that's probably mine. Forrest, you gonna answer that question?
So I really like all the Smeagol sequences where he's speaking to himself as like the evil Gollum. As a kid, my favorite was just the Hobbiton sequence in the beginning, because I really liked that they kept on, because I read The Hobbit when I was really little, and I liked that they just kept referencing it, because they're like, Bilbo's writing The Hobbit, and it's like, The Hobbit exists in this universe too.
Yeah, it's in universe a book. Yeah.
And so is Lord of the Rings, because Frodo's writing it at the end. Like, but they're just memoirs. I like that in Middle Earth they're memoirs, but in our world they're like fantasy books. Yeah, I like those two. And there's there was a line that I wanted to say. Is like, out of all movies, it was my favorite line, but now I can't remember what it is.
Well, while you're thinking of that, how about you, KT?
Death of Boromir. That scene makes me cry every time when he's talking to Aragorn, and that exchange that they have is just a really wonderful example of acting. Like, we've just got two tight faces, back and forth. It's just really so good.
Yeah.
All right,
What is it he said? I would have followed you, my brother, my captain, my king.
Every time I'm like hard crying by the time they get to
I know, it's like, you're like, I thought you were an asshole.
That's why they have to add more. That's probably should have definitely I wish they added more. Well, I'm sure they did in the extended one, but like,
yeah, watch the extended
Boromir. I'm never going to, because it's 4 hours long and I can't sit for that long. My
it's
ADHD
so much
is
better
bad.
though.
I know, but it's just
break it up. Like watch it till the they have fellowship, and whenever right before they set off for the quest, hit pause, come back the next day, whatever.
Yeah,
like
I'll have to do that one day. But my favorite line that out of everything that I keep on that was in my head that was bouncing around was when Sam says, I don't usually like foreign food, but this elvish lambus bread isn't so bad.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Foreign food, like
that's one of the better food related quips within there.
And then he gets tired of lambus bread.
Yeah,
and he's sick of it by the third one. That's all they brought.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, I mean, if they read the same thing every day.
I do really love this scene where Merry and Pippin are being taken away from each other, and Merry says to Pippin, like, "Here's this. I saved some weed for you, some tobacco for you. You smoke too much, and like something about that also hits a little like a true friend. Like, you've had that conversation. Like, oh, God.
Yeah, but like, I like how there's like the two camps of people that are like, it's pretty like it's definitely like. It's weed coated, and then everyone else is like, no, it's tobacco, and it's like
that's what they're giggling so much.
Yeah, like, dude, come
Old
on.
Toby.
I mean, this is why it was so big in the '60s. Was all the weed coating?
Yeah, I mean,
hippies love it.
Nimoy got so into doing the he fought with the goblins, dun dun dun. He battled the trolls, dun dun dun.
I do think it's been memed or recontextualized so many times, but as much as often Legolas and Gimli their interactions are played for laughs, especially when they're counting kills and stuff. But the whole I never thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf. What about side by side with a friend?
Oh. That's good.
Pretty good. pretty gut pounding good, man.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like because it isn't just like, oh, they're friends immediately. It's like there's like racial tension. There's like long, there's political tension. Yeah. Like they like you believe it because you spent multiple movies like watching them fight side by side and like have each other's back and it's getting comfortable in changing their like hardline orthodoxy of the way that the world is and adjusting to like this fellowship. And to me, that's when you think about the word fellowship, that's like, hell yeah, that's what's all about right there.
Yeah, and those lines they hit non-gender specific, like Lauren was saying earlier. Like, this doesn't have to be two guys talking to each other. Like, that line hits for all audiences, and that's why this story succeeds so well.
Like, how can you look at that and not be like, all right. Yeah,
it's like
it's on.
Like the ass moment too, like the moment in
Because there's so many beats in the battle. Like, one of the reasons why the battles, I didn't want to get on this on Tuesday, but one of the reasons I think the battles are so well paced is it's balanced with the characterization. And there's different levels of trust. Like again with Gimli, but this time with Aragorn, where he's like they find that weird ass little secret passageway to like side quest around the side to get him, and he's like, throw me, and he's like, what? And he's like, throw me, just don't tell anyone about it, whatever he says. Like, because he knows it's the only way. It's literally the only way, and he has to get over. It's like the thing that's like it's every dwarf's worst nightmare. But he's like, just
in the first
don't
movie,
tell anyone.
he has the line, never throw a dwarf.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the first point where you're just like, and again, that's in the middle of Helm's Deep, because they're just like at that point, you're like, oh, they're boned. Like there's no, so but it's also like. I think it's comedically like almost like a Chaplin movie or like Young Frankenstein, or I'm sorry, Frankenstein, or something that like they have the little side thing on the side where it's like, oh yeah, there's this little. You didn't know this was here? Yeah, we got this thing. Oh, okay.
I think one of the things that makes Two Towers so fucking frustrating is that they get to the gates of Mordor, and they're like, oh, we got to go around.
Yeah,
so like,
it's like, no!
Two guys walk up to them, and in a lesser movie or in a movie that wanted to like do the fucking cliche, they would just beat up the two guys and take their armor because they're wearing full blown armor. And like there's that moment you're like, come on, just beat the guys up and take the armor, which they can't. They're fucking hobbits and they're small.
They're hobbits.
Yeah, but in my head I'm like, you could just beat the guys up and then you could just join the line and then march in step with everybody else.
Well, and then you get in the extended edition, you get like
a little small today there, Miller, and he's like,
well, in the extended edition, you actually do get them putting on orc armor and trying to pass as orcs to get through, and you actually get a kind of better example of like what it's like in that orc army. It looks terrible, by the way. Many were not, and but it's also ultimately like, it's not necessary. Like it's not necessary for like it's almost like it works better without it.
You got to try to like
it's cool, but
unionize the orcs. So discontent by being like, did Sauron like pay you a good sum of money? And they're like, no, Sauron doesn't pay me anything. I just serve him. And it's like, don't you think you deserve a higher wage for your work? And he's like, you know what? Yeah, I do deserve a higher wage for my work.
Orc might be on the menu. Do you get a lunch break to have that hobbit on that menu?
How often do you get fresh meat? Not that often, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not enough to decry that it's back on the menu. Again, orcs have menus, so can't wait to see that spin-off series where Gollum is running the restaurant for them.
It's like they do their own version of like the bear or whatever.
You good?
That writes itself.
Oh, it really does. We throw a lot of nonsense out in this show, but that you got to give it up. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Running the restaurant because that was Deagle's dream. He's like, look, I killed him, and I got to live out his dream.
Exactly.
How hard is it to fry fish? How hard is it to fry fish? You fucking stupid orc.
So
yelling at all the orcs in the kitchen.
Put it in the fryer.
Conan, you asked a question on our episode with Mike that we didn't wind up getting to answer because we ran out of time and we just forgot to come back to it. Your question was ranking the movies in order of your favorites.
Right. Yes, thank you.
I'd love to do that.
And we're out of time.
Yeah.
See you next week, everybody.
Two Towers is the one that I think I've grown to appreciate more over the years. I think, especially with the extended edition, like you really get its essentialness and more than just a delivery sequence for Helm's Deep. That said, it's still my third. Return of the King is my second, and I love it. I love it to death. I love everything about it. Still a 5-star movie to me, but nothing touches Fellowship for me. Fellowship is it's about as good as it gets as far as I'm concerned, as far as movies go. So that's my ranking, which is Fellowship first, Return second, and Two Towers third. But that said, Two Towers is like gone up like a full star probably in my estimation since I've watched it for the first time. So, Andy, how about you?
When I first I have only just saw the extended edition of Return of the King very recently. I just never got a copy of it back in the physical media days, but I had seen the two extended editions of the first two films. If you had asked me last year, I would have actually said Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King. but that extended version of Return of the King is better than the Two Towers. So my list is going to be exactly the same. Because Fellowship like has a beginning, has a middle, has an end, leaves it open for the sequel, does everything a first movie should do without bogging you down with too much continuity about like, oh, we're going to tease this out. No. You got what you need. Everything's right there.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It works, even though it probably wouldn't work as a standalone. But anyway, KT, about you?
Oh, I definitely go Fellowship first. I mean, the Boromir scene is my favorite scene. I love the Galadriel scene. I love the scene where Sam is running up to the canoe. These are very huge. The scene with the horses and the waves become horses. Like, there's so many big scenes in that made me fall in love with fantasy. I would have said Return of the King until seeing the extended, and I do feel like it goes 1, 2, 3 for me because there's just so much built into 2 that makes it like it retroactively goes back to 1 and makes things make sense, and it just fills it up so much that I feel like 3 still kind of just feels like the resolution of a bunch of stuff that we put together. Although I do really love having the Shelob and the Dead City. So like it's like Sophie's Choice. It's not really like and so that's a 2.5-star movie. It's like 5, and then also 5.
I think I should have mentioned when I was doing mine, but I think Fellowship needs the least of the extra scenes. Like it's the one that needs the extra scenes the least. They're good, but you don't need them. You don't like it. It still works. It almost like the pacing on Fellowship. Rewatching it, I was like, I was an hour and 15 minutes into it. It was like it feels like it's been 10 minutes. Like this is crazy. Like like, and I knew I've seen these movies so many times. I knew how far along it was, but I was like, no way, it's been an hour and 50 minutes. How? It's so good. Because I think in a way, as much as I like the extended scenes, like it almost kind of mucks up the pacing a little bit to have them in there because it's like one of the best paced like big adventure fantasy movies ever. Yes. I think Two Towers, I think benefits the most from the extra stuff, even if it is 4 hours, which it is for sure. But I think it benefits the most from it because again, like you get more into the background of characters like Faramir. You understand his relationship with his brother and his father, and it builds stakes for characters. Otherwise, you're like, that guy's a dick. I don't care about that guy. Why is he the steward of Gondor? More like steward of this dick. Okay, great.
Yeah. How's he like, good at archery? What is he, fucking Hawkeye?
Right. And like, otherwise you're just like, oh, this guy is like another son. And like, you don't get any character. You don't know who he is as a person. And I think that you also, slaying the Witch King or not, there's still just like more of her scenes are just like kind of mooning over Aragorn, which is fine. It's cool. But I think you hit an important point that like you never get the scene of him explaining that he's been around for like more than a human lifetime and that is not like a traditional standard human. And that's why all of these things like, and it's like, you could have left, it was like 2 minutes. You could have left that in. You could have. Why didn't you leave that in?
It explains why he's with Arwen. It's like it makes it way less weird.
Yeah, so I really like that. And then you get, like I said, the one comedic beat that Aragorn's ever given, which is that like her food is terrible, and he's like, which is great. And the Return of the King, I think
you're like an elfish like princess, basically. Like you don't need to be good at cooking. Let's be honest.
You kill the Witch King, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that Return of the King, we've mentioned it so many times, but I think you need to deal with Saruman, right? You need to be like, what happened? And again, it's mostly him talking trash from his tower, right? Hilarious. Great, by the way. That's more essential than seeing Smeagol as a hobbit. To me,
and it's only like 10 minutes. It's not really that much in a movie where it's just like when you have 4 cats and you're talking about a 5th cat. Like we're in it. The movie's already 2.5 hours long. It's 2 hours 40 minutes long. Oops.
We got to get another letterbox. Litterbox.
You already have 4 letterboxes. You're fucking fine.
But like into a theater to watch this film for free.
Oh no!
There you go.
They work so hard to make it.
It made plenty of money. It's fine. But like I think that Also, he gets off some good ones too, because again, for the back half of Two Towers, you just see Saruman basically kind of watching on closed circuit eyeball, and it's sort of he's just sitting in that tower, again, the Ents just jacked his stuff. I mean, apparently they were like, whatever, we can't get up there, so all right.
I like that. Buddy. I like that the Palantir seems to be just as addictive as not just as addictive, but it's like a less addictive version of a ring.
Yeah, and I think it also gives the Hobbit a little bit more characterization that he gets involved with it too.
And it really speaks.
And also, sorry, real quick, and why Gandalf is constantly annoyed at him all the time, always.
Yes.
If you ever noticed.
And why he knows he is a fool.
Don't try that.
Not just
Don't try that orb
fool.
shit, man. That orb shit, man. Don't try that shit, man. Not even once, man.
So that was my. I should have included that, but that's my take on what the extended. There's a great website blog or something where someone actually rates each of the extended scenes and whether it should be included or not. Saruman's podcast would be fire, and what would be amazing is Wormtongue would be the producer. So amazing! I would like and subscribe.
And Christopher Lee, if he was still with us, would totally have done that.
He would completely have done that. Completely. Done. Anyway, sorry, Katie. I didn't mean to.
I was going to add in onto the Palantir. Onto the Palantir concept, it shows that Frodo truly is a special ring bearer. It's not just hobbits because hobbits in of themselves don't have power, which is part of it. But because look, Pippin they're attracted to just the Palantir. They would never have been able to have handled carrying the ring, even though they have their whole character arc, which is much deeper and extended.
They're not even capable of. They're not even really capable of getting up in the morning and getting their shit together. So it's
But they do. They eventually do. They eventually become such great men. It's very cool.
Yeah. Well, and that's so I feel like and again, I can't recommend enough if you're really going to do a deep dive like we really did for the show and whether how you engage with certain scenes or whatnot. And one of the reasons why I decided to bring that in is because I don't think I've ever heard a podcast go over that. And having seen these films a lot, it changes the experience considerably. And especially in ways where it's Mouth Soren, oh my God, so good. Problem is it's so good, and it takes you away from a very key part of the main story at the time, and Aragorn acts out of character, basically. But our decisions are made that must just have been I don't know, it's too long. Which is funny, because every goddamn movie's 3 hours now.
So I wanted to ask another question of everybody here, which this movie comes
Well, let's let Forrest rank his first.
Oh, fuck, I didn't. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I thought I answered last. Never mind. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no. Forrest, you need to answer.
Probably Fellowship, Return of the King, Two Towers. Fellowship's always been my favorite, because I can quote so much of it just by memory.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, I think we're all in agreement on Fellowship first.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you want to do, Kitty?
Oh, so this is 2001.
Mm-hmm.
It's not unheard of. You've got Band of Brothers coming out on HBO as a series that's directed like a movie, episodically exploring different characters over a main theme with Spielberg as one of the director stepping in to help him along the way. Could this have been done maybe a little bit better served if you keep everybody, same cast, same directors, and you just allow it to be more of say a Band of Brothers series?
Episodic.
Episodic.
It would be different. So for me, my problem with episodic streaming content, I dare call it television now, is all of them are about 2 or 3 episodes too long. And they specifically do that to, serve the algorithm and to engage the viewer. And I feel like some episodes will be boring as hell as well. Where it's that's just Merry and Pippin running around with Treebeard. They don't, nothing much else happens that episode. But now, it's ironic because now that's how it would be. If we ever get a Dark Tower, a real Dark Tower, and it seems like we're going to, then it has to be an episodic TV show, right? And I have high hopes that will happen. But I think this is one of the last times that you can make an epic like this that has multi-episodic movies that were well regarded in the monoculture as fantastic films, but then also you can get the true heads, hey, here's more. Because we made more. And if you're interested in that, here it is. And by more, I don't just mean the extra scenes. I'm talking about the 4 different commentary tracks that they have on each movie. I'm talking about the making of documentaries. I'm talking about, like, this was, I said on the other show, I'm going to say it again. It was the golden age of extras. Like, the Lord of the Rings extended editions were this is why you buy a DVD player. Like, kind of like use case, right? Which I still have them, and I sold off a bunch of DVDs over the years because for a while, we have a Blu-ray player again. I actually love it for out of print stuff. I'm getting more into it, but like I would never get rid of those ever.
I love when you used to like rent a movie and you're trying to get your fucking money's worth, and you're like, I'm gonna watch all the fucking special features on it. Like I did that with Two Towers as a kid, or my dad did it with Two Towers when I was a kid. But I remember seeing that with my dad, and he was like going through all the special features, and it was like we don't have to return this till tomorrow, so like we have to go through. And I probably saw most of the deleted scenes for Two Towers, or like a lot of them.
Sure, but you're like absorbing them. You're like, I gotta get as much value of this as I can. And you're not even really like taking it in as entertainment.
I remember the Mouth of Sauron. Now that I've seen it again, like I remember seeing that, and I remember a lot of the fucking Uruk-hai stuff that wasn't even in the rewatching.
Yeah,
so like,
you don't even get the restaurant.
Come on, pull up. Oh, there's so many.
Just like
you don't even get this iconic moment.
Jesus.
God damn it. So just like commentary tracks, the letterbox is a place for film lovers, the social media set film lovers talk at within to each other about the films that they love, maybe the films that they didn't love, the films that they had hot takes on, the films that they were exclusively thirst posting on, the films that they were exclusively shipping Samwise and Frodo on. Oh my God, so many of those. Enough, we get it. And of course, all of this is bottom-up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say. Everyone gets to chime and opine. And is best done succinctly for the purposes of this bit. This is the bit where normally for one movie, we collect the best, the royal we, collect the best of these particular reviews in the classic one-liner format, working your type 5, keeping it short, keeping it succinct, leave them one anymore, and put them on screen. This is for all 3, and it's the second one this week with no repeats. Undefeated. Just gonna say it. Undefeated. Pardon my French, but absolutely fuck off if you don't think these movies are perfect. I agree. Letterbox one-liners, Lord of the Rings. That's we could just end it there. My biggest takeaway from this is that Gandalf is a stoner.
Yes.
I mean, that's a weird only takeaway, but yeah.
Hashtag edibles on there too. By the way. I love that.
Yeah, the down parts, right? Chilling with friends. Edibles. I don't know what SME is, but
what is SME? Shaking my yo-yo? What is that? Probably not. Sometimes the fellowship is just 6 himbos, 2 daddies, and a Gimli.
True. And sometimes it's a bunch of Mormons that show up at your house, and please don't.
A bunch of little guys running around. Yes, it is.
I mean, that's all you really need in the end, right?
Running around. I could have fixed Boromir.
I don't know about all that. He's got issues. He's got daddy issues. He's got daddy issues, probably.
Literally, the only thing you need to know is how to plug holes if you think you could have fixed Boromir.
Oh!
Yeah,
what is that can of fix a flat? Or what is the commercial with the guy with that tape?
Oh God, yeah.
He slaps it on the tank.
Yes.
That would be the fake commercial on our Gollum running the orc restaurant show.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank God that we all live in the timeline where James Corden's audition for Samwise Gamgee wasn't successful.
Yes.
What is it?
For that.
What's the fucking his carpool karaoke or whatever? But he's driving Frodo to the fucking Mordor.
I would never look. Yeah, I would never. No.
Come on, Frodo. he's like, come on, Frodo, let's sing another song. Frodo's like, we've carpooled every fucking song in your fucking CD, bro.
Yeah, we got to quiet down. There's these orcs around. Come on, what are you doing?
Just imagine the helicopter ride with James Corden.
Ugh, that was intolerable. Again. He'll soon become a wraith like them. Could you imagine? Just a short little ring wraith riding on a miniature pony?
That's great. I didn't think about that.
Or like, what would he be riding on with? Like, you can't ride like one of the Nazgul. Like, it's too small, right? Like,
Yeah, he's gonna have like a miniature. I don't know. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, that should have way more than 3 likes, of which I am one. Just FYI. When the screen fades to black after a magical 2 hours, warm feeling. When you realize that was only half of the first movie, surprise.
Yeah, and you gotta change the DVD.
Exactly.
He wakes up
Flip
in
it over.
Rivendell, and you're like, all right, well, they've made it to Rivendell. That's the adventure, right? Even
Yeah,
Sam is
nope.
like, all right, Mr. Frodo, time to go home. And he's
Yeah.
like, they're like, no, you got to
Nope.
take it all the way to Mordor, my.
Yep, exactly. I need a spin-off movie called Legally Blonde.
Ugh.
That's an Andy ass joke.
It's also got 3,310 likes, which is probably too much, but I like
Yeah,
it.
that's definitely too much for that one. But
That's absolutely a joke that you would make. Are you kidding me? It's like a
I deserve the 3,000.
All right, okay, sure. All right, let's go down
Called
here. then.
Legoland Blonde. That's his.
Oh my god. I, for one, simply hate and cannot stand it when I'm betrayed by my most trusted advisor, whose name is Greasy Liarmouth.
His name really is Grima, like grimy worm.
Wait.
Tom. Like,
Check this out. Look at the video. Look at the top of his head. There you go. Check it out. See? His hairline suddenly gets better up here. Ain't that right? Yeah. Come get some.
wow, Gandalf only managed to change the top of his head.
He just did the top. Yeah, the rest of it's still gray. I'm Merry and Pippin, just vibing with tree dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
The
a lot
end.
of vibing. Can someone tell me why Groot didn't get an invite to the tree meeting?
It takes so fucking long to speak in Entish, and
Yeah.
they couldn't get it all the way to space where fucking Groot is.
He's
Yeah,
still
and he
trying
would
to get
always
there.
say 3 things.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Do we really need it to be less efficient?
Where's the thing where Groot and Gollum are together working at that?
Oh man, where's that podcast? Am I right? Yeah. Nothing works harder in this movie than that string holding Gollum's loincloth together.
I thought that so many times.
500 years, and there's no
God.
way that he ever stopped to get a new loincloth.
And why would he care at this point? I thought that so many times.
My precious are swinging in the breeze.
It was
In
like
the breeze, my love.
hanging on, just barely.
It covers my loincloth covers the preciouses.
Saves Middle Earth and then solves racism. Is there anything Vigo can't do?
I hate being
It's a Green
reminded
Book
that
joke,
movie
everybody.
exists.
I'm not gonna lie. I threw that in for Renee specifically. Sometimes I'll do things, so I'll have to send that to her. Shelob stabbing Frodo with her stinger passes the Bechdel test.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's feeling hungry. She likes the hobbitses.
My wife Shelob has done nothing wrong ever. Like hobbits would be so tasty. Admit it.
My wife Shelob. Hey, what are you doing, my wife Shelob? She can't get it together.
It's just
Everything's
a regular
in the cobwebs.
it's just Shelob and like a regular dude.
Shelob sounds like something.
Yeah. Isn't that the end of that movie?
Call his wife.
Yeah.
I'm
Like
sorry. I
a
just
British
blanked
guy
on
would be
the-
like, a British guy would be like, me Shelob, me wife Shelob. She can't get nothing right.
It's like a farmer guy. Yeah. What's that, Andy?
Yeah, what was that movie that ends with a giant spider? That's the wife. It's by the guy by Vinny Villamy.
Enemy.
Yes, Enemy. Yes.
Denis
I-
Villeneuve.
it's just-
I like that one
I
a
love
lot.
the
actually.
I love the extra fact that Peter Jackson's arachnophobic.
Oh right. By the way, when I saw the end of Enemy, I watched that with Lindsay. Her real time reaction was, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think that's the point." But it was definitely a WTF moment.
Me wife Shelob. She can't. All her food is. Yeah.
We're done with that
Honestly-
character. Let's move on.
Honestly, now that that I've seen this review, it's canon that guy from that movie wrote this review.
He's trying to make excuses for her. Yeah. Frodo is resilient. Samwise is brave. Merry is loyal. Pippin is the embodiment of letting the intrusive thoughts win.
Yeah, there's
about
some
it?
big Andy ass energy to Pippin.
Oh!
He just says whatever pops into his head. And sometimes everyone's like, not now.
She loves stabbing Frodo with her stinger past the Bechdel test. We've seen that one. That one's on there twice.
So good.
This has to be the Best Picture winner with the biggest spider. Do any other Best Picture winners have a massive spider? That's why it won.
That's why it won. 11, as many as Titanic, which it sucks that Titanic won.
Although,
would have won 12 with a big spider.
Talk to Wiki Wild Wild West. You make it a robot, you don't win shit.
No, it's got to be a real spider. It's got to be a
Real
proper
spider.
spider.
I like adding a giant spider to Titanic, and that's why the giant spider comes out of a room. You're like, oh fuck, and then it hits an iceberg.
So it'd be like the Muppet thought exercise, but add a giant spider to a movie, right? It'd be like I don't know, Sleepless in Seattle with a giant spider. Great.
Now I understand why you were so sleepless.
Right, exactly. Now it makes sense. Anyway, those are the Letterboxd one-liners for all 3 Lord of the Rings movies. Please follow the show at our Letterboxd HQ account at Movie Night Extra, where we're doing stories of all the lovely movies that we cover and all the episodes we cover with lots of extra bonus content for you on there, on that social media site for film lovers. Also on there, the other eye of Sauron. There he is, everybody. At Always Flacco. He's when he's not running his orc restaurant, he logs all the stuff on Letterboxd. And
I love Harold Mandler.
Meat is indeed back on the menu. Yes, I of course am at Conan Neutron, and Neutron will answer always. Especially if you comment on one of my reviews. I'm doing the highbrow, the midbrow, the populist fare. Follow me through Criterion Challenge, film school dropouts, things along those lines. I am on the Letterboxd. Second breakfast down there right about now too. J. Andrew World. Watch all the weirdest stuff so you don't have to. Maybe so you can. Not for me to say. Not really, I'm just calling balls and strikes, just like the Supreme Court. Thank you. Anything, Andy, anything? What's your latest?
I just watched Vampire's Kiss, and my God, that was I forgot how wild that movie was, and I did not realize, because I have not watched it since Trump was president, how much of a Trump impression that Nicolas Cage is doing throughout the movie.
Got it. Okay, I haven't seen it in a long time. I don't remember. So there you go. I'll have to read your review to find out what you thought of it, except for the fact you just told me. KT is at Movie Runtime for her show at Movie Runtime, and she is on Letterboxd, and I highly recommend a follow over for KT. Let's do the plugs.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end, because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going, since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra where we're putting up short-form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week?
It's Chris Haskett of Rollins Band, which was great. He also has played with Bowie, Iggy Pop, Jaw Wobble. Fantastic fella. Great conversation that went out to the patrons last night and will be up on the general feed on Monday. $1 a month, advance access. I've lost a few patrons over the past couple months, so yeah, if you're interested in the show, please feel free to jump in and support it. NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com for Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends music. We have new merch items coming in the next few weeks. They're not up yet. I will say, San Francisco, Bottom of the Hill, Thursday the 19th, Los Angeles and San Diego and Phoenix as well. Detroit with God Bullies in October 11th. There's another thing I'm very close to announcing, but it's not going to be this show, unfortunately. But that's all that, and I don't know how to close this out because I'm still getting used to recording plugs. And I guess let's go to final thoughts. I don't know. Yeah, what do we do?
Well, everyone else had plugs the other day, right?
Oh, yeah, KT. Yeah. So, what do you got, KT? I managed to grab you right as you were taking a
I've just had some. So. I have the M&M phlegm. Yeah, I mean,
I love his latest record.
Yeah, M&M phlegm. It's my new punk band. Mm-hmm. You can go and find me on Instagram. Go and find me on TikTok at Movie Runtime. Go and find my podcast, What If I Don't Like It, where we make guests watch movies that they haven't seen yet. And we talk to them about maybe why, set the stage, maybe they might like it, and then we see if they do like it. So it's interesting because I get people who are really into film, and I make them kind of sit with something that might not be their forte, and we can really kind of grind into it. Very long.
So you can never have Andy on because he watches everything all the time.
I know it would be
for the Harry Potter movies.
Ugh, I'm not watching those again.
Yeah, but you see the problem. Yeah, there's like 7 of those, right? There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I have no interest in it, any of them, or the spin-off films or any of that.
It's not fair.
I have interest in discussing it.
I had to watch them all with no break, ass to ass, while on a bus to Michigan for fencing nationals with 3 different teams in the same bus. And so, like, I lived in a certain version of hell while watching all of those movies.
Okay, so
it's not fair to the
So
movies.
I don't want to watch those movies, but I would watch a movie about what watch a movie about what you just explained.
Yes.
That sounds awesome.
Hell.
Yeah.
So if you go to Instagram or TikTok, you're going to see everything that I'm doing. You're going to see updates on all of this stuff. So I'll keep it short. Just say that follow me on social media. That's the best way to see what I'm up to. And I'm up to way too much to talk about.
I know you're almost at Conan Neutron levels at this point. Watch out.
I learned it by watching you.
Andy, do you have anything to plug? I know you have your book cover.
Yeah, I got that book cover coming out, which is 4
just the cover. The book
Palestine.
is not coming out.
Just the tip and just the cover.
But apparently the pre-order link just went up. So if you did want to get 4 essays on Palestine, go ahead, pre-order it. That helps. Yeah,
it's the book cover of Sauron. Are we putting it up or no? Do we have it? Okay.
I didn't grab it fast
All right,
enough.
Whatever. You can find it. It's not that
That's
hard.
fair. That's fair.
You just ask Jeeves about it.
But KT, final thought.
Thank you. Ask Jeeves, everybody. Yeah.
My final thought is that if you have the time to do the extended, if you have the time to do the extended, and even if you do it, like make it your own little streaming series where you watch an hour and it stops wherever an hour is and you come back to it the next day, however you have to do it. I do feel like it is worth your time to get the full extent of what all of these people who cared so much about the films put into it. And that's coming from someone who pretty much never wants something to be longer. And it was like this love-hate relationship of watching these movies over again, where I would be sitting there being like, I can't believe it's freaking hour 3:45. There's still 45 minutes, but also this is super engaging. And if they cut any of this, I would be very upset. Like,
yeah.
Just watch it. However you need to get through it, it is so worth your time.
Did they? Was there Inglourious Bastards? Did Tarantino like do a version of it that like was meant to be episodic or something? Am I remember that correctly? Not Inglourious. I'm sorry. No, it was the Wild West in the winter in the cabin one.
Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Or I would have heard about that, but maybe.
I don't think he did. Not that I'm aware of.
Chats, help us.
You might have been thinking of
I
the
know, right?
version of the Hateful Eight that was a streaming show that came out literally the same year that the Hateful Eight came out, but it was like
Okay.
based on the original Western. It wasn't based on.
Oh, okay. That might be what I was thinking.
Okay, and mixing it up with the Snyder Cut.
No, there's I think it was like they made like a version of it, but it's 6, I think, and then it has like Chris Pratt or somebody in it. And
all right, I'm already out, but yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I got that twisted, y'all. My bad.
I'm out.
That's my final thought.
Yeah, Andy, final thoughts.
Yeah, if you really do have the time, I do recommend checking out some of the special stuff, the extra features, because there are some great interviews with the artists that worked on it, and
There really are. You're right.
And the thing is, it's like
they're all on YouTube too.
They brought on, they're all on YouTube, so you have no excuse, and they're not as long as the movie, but you can, but you have the advantage of like sitting there and seeing, like Alan Lee, who visually crafted what we think of Lord of the Rings, like those Bashki Rankin Bass cartoons, the Bashki stuff. All of that is looking back at like what Alan Lee, the Hildebrands, and a few other artists kind of pioneered. And it's so exciting that they were actually involved with the process of this film, and it's really neat to see what they did before the film, what Peter Jackson had them do, and how excited they're just like, oh, it's really nice to work with him, because we would have stopped at this design, but he really pushed us in ways we wouldn't have pushed ourselves. And, then to see the full creative process going from those wonderful drawings, because those guys were absolute like draftsmen, not just great artists, but like draftsmen as well, getting in all those details, but to see the process of taking this 2D art and crafting it into 3D, crafting it into 3D models, that alone is well worth your time. And like I said, a little easier to digest because those are like 45 minutes long segments on YouTube. So you don't have to watch them all at once. You can just, watch a little bit at a time, and it's great.
I feel like the draftsman could be like another Liam Neeson vehicle. I'm the draftsman.
I have a certain set of skills.
Most of them involve drawing.
Most of them involve drawing, and I invented the design for the Lord of the Rings.
But I also murder people.
Well, they kidnap they kidnap his daughter, and the only thing that they have to go on is a drawing of the guys that did it.
We need Lord of the Rings fan art, or your daughter's dead.
No, so the only thing they have to go on is before she gets kidnapped, right? She's under the bed. She sketches out a picture of the guys that kidnapped her. So he has to go based on her sketch, and he has to render that into like a 3D image of the guys that kidnapped his daughter.
But here's the twist: she can't draw.
It'd be Joker for people that do comic convention fan art.
Yeah. But Conan, final thought.
There's not. I've said it all. I think over the course of these two shows, but I think when it comes down to it, I mean, this is 3 of the greatest adventure fantasy movies of all time, one of the best movie series of all time, one of the best film adaptations of a book of all time. It's eminently rewatchable. I agree with the rest of the panel that the extended cuts are the way to go. And even when it's one of the few things you can study that even when there's something that doesn't work in the context of the movie or doesn't add anything more to what are almost perfect movies already, it's fascinating. And it's fascinating to study this and discuss it. And I won't lie, trying to like figure out how to cover the movies on this show was almost like taking the ring to Mordor as far as like daunting ways to do it. But I feel like we just stumbled over Gollum's weird little dance and the ring just dropped. I think we got there.
I did it. The process.
It was a year and a half, by the way. A year and a half from when we first mentioned doing this.
It's a year and a half until I got the process.
And so, yeah, it was truly a journey.
It was one of the only things I've ever suggested in the show. I'm like, I don't even know if we were going to be able to pull this off. Just because I don't know if anybody could. Because it's just so ambitious, it
took longer to plan this than it did to get a permit to open a restaurant in Mordor.
But they're all libertarians over there. They don't have permits.
Oh, well, all right. It was a great bit until that happened. Anyway, but we did it. I'm glad we did it. I think we have two really great conversations that I hope people got something out of from different levels. And again, just come from the place of what I love about this kind of show, which is from absolute heart and love of the form. And when this kind of stuff is done well. And that's, again, coming from, like, one of the charter members of the Make Movies Shorter fan club. It's one of the only times I'm like, no, I want more. Yeah, give me more.
Well,
man.
it's great. Not every movie is fucking Lord of the Rings. And they're treating it like every movie is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, the Batman is not Lord of the Rings. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not against Matt Reeves.
The ring.
But
where is she? Where is she? I do like I like the fucking Christopher Nolan Batman as Gollum.
Oh yeah,
my precious.
Exactly. Yeah, that's good. Or you could do it as Bane. You know, that's good also. But
well, you could do Bane as like Saruman, and you could do Christopher Nolan's Batman as Gollum. He's running through the fucking caves. Where is she?
Look, I'm gonna back off my attaboys for us doing it this well if we keep going with this too much. But yeah. I feel like we did well, and I feel like good for us. I know. Exactly. I'm glad this is on the after party. Oh wait,
it's the after party process. That is how we treat the after party. My process. Yeah.
So Forrest,
this really is the extended
final thoughts.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the extended edition, isn't it? Yeah.
After party forever, my process. Anyway, well, we'll be back on Tuesday. We're gonna talk about The Great Dictator.
That's right.
With Ron Purdy. That's gonna be a fun time.
Great guest. Yep.
Yeah. And a classic movie. A classic Charlie Chaplin. And we're gonna do our fucking Uncle Alligator, I'm sure, all over the place, pitching anything that moves.
Yes.
Yeah, he was seriously absent for this show. It's almost like there was too much stuff to cover to do shit.
Well, yeah, because he sold the rights to Lord of the Rings. He sold it to.
He's still mad about it, actually.
Yeah. He sold it to New Line Cinema.
He was with Sean Connery. Just didn't understand it.
All right. Well, good times. I feel like Lord of the Rings is stuck in my brain forever now.
I know,
yes.
It's gonna be hard to switch gears to anything else.
It's gonna be a wild change.
You're gonna still give Lord of the Rings facts during the Dictator episode.
He's gonna be Gollum talking about Charlie Chaplin. Yeah.
I'm a dictator, my precious.
It's gonna happen though.